Chapter 1359. How arrogant. Jianshun, I'd like to see who can save you today, Lang Kiri said coldly. Heavy killing intent appeared in his eyes, and he immediately attacked Jianshun. He crossed several hundred meters with a single step and instantly appeared before Jianshun. He directly slammed his hand towards Jianshun's head. Energy surged from his hand, shaking up the space there and causing pitch-black cracks to appear. At the same time, the surrounding space froze. Lang Kiri's controlled the space to imprison Jianshun, preventing him from escaping. The Lang Kiris attacked viciously and decisively. He wanted to kill Jianshun in a single strike and eliminate all future problems. This was because they had already fallen out with Jianshun. If they allowed Jianshun to continue growing like this, he would become an opponent that they could not suppress one day. When that happened, they would not be too far away from their doom. At this moment, Lang Kiris had completely forgotten about the threat of the barrier's spirit. He had already sensed that Rui Jin and the other two were not nearby. Eliminating Jianshun was more important than anything else right now. He had even temporarily cast aside the powerful treasure of the world. Just when Jianshun wanted to attack, a white figure suddenly flashed. The Holy Emperor of the Peng clan, Sangxiong, had barged into the space that Lang Kiris had locked down and blocked before Jianshun. With a wave of his hand, he sent a palm strike towards Lang Kiris with supreme energy, blocking the attack for Jianshun. Terrifying ripples of energy immediately erupted as the two Saint Emperors clashed, wreaking havoc in the surroundings. The space in a radius of several thousand kilometers shattered and was reduced to darkness. All the volcanoes in a radius of several kilometers collapsed as red lava was thrown into the sky like a waterfall. It dyed the sky scarlet as a blood-red rain of lava began to fall. In the distance, many of the Holy Emperor retreated. The shockwaves from the battle between the Holy Emperor and the others were enough to injure them. None of them wanted to be caught in the crossfire. The volcano that Jianshun was standing on had also turned into nothingness. He used the sword light to protect his body as he floated in mid-air and retreated. He stared at Firmament in astonishment. He had never interacted with Firmament before. He really couldn't understand why Firmament would help him block the Tiger Emperor. In the distance, King's eyes narrowed as he stared at the sky. A trace of viciousness appeared on his face. Firmament's back was facing Jianshun. His silver hair was fluttering in the wind, and his white robe was fluttering in the wind created by the energy shockwaves. His face was peaceful, and there was no sadness or joy. The Tiger Emperor's expression was as ugly as it could be. He said in an icy voice, "Sangxiong, what is the meaning of this?" "Tiger Emperor, our four races are in danger of being wiped out. Our top priority is to stop the world of Forsaken Saints. We can't engage in internal strife or kill each other. That will only weaken our strength. At the same time, Jianshun's talent is extraordinary. He can be described as unprecedented. He'll become a Saint Emperor before long and strengthen our defenses. It's a joyous matter for our four races. It's best that we let go of our past grievances," Firmament said calmly. The Tiger Emperor did not waver at all. He growled, "Firmament, are you sure you want to protect him?" The Tiger Emperor had made up his mind to kill Jianshun. He also knew about Jianshun's talent, so he did not wish for Jianshun to become a Saint Emperor. This was because once Jianshun became a Saint Emperor, it would be the end of the Tiger Emperor as well. "I'm thinking about the bigger picture," Firmament said righteously. Jianshun's impression of Firmament immediately changed drastically. He clearly remembered that the Holy Emperor of the Peng clan, Firmament, had not taken part in the multiple attempts on his life or the fight for the Saint's Fruit. Yet, he was speaking up for Jianshun even at the risk of offending the other two Holy Emperors, which greatly improved Jianshun's impression of Firmament. Suddenly, a tremendous pressure crushed down from the sky. Seeing how the Tiger Emperor was being held back by Firmament, Kaiser struck out without any hesitation. His right hand had been injured by the Zing sword, so he used his left hand to attack. His left hand transformed into a powerful dragon claw, stabbing toward Jianshun's forehead with lightning speed. Firmament became stern. He was unable to fend off two Holy Emperors by himself. Just when he wanted to flee with Jianshan using the world's greatest speed, the Tiger Emperor struck out at this crucial moment, preventing him from saving Jianshan. With the three holy emperors leaving the Ziying sword, the other holy emperors all began to move. They no longer paid any attention to the battle between the holy emperors. Instead, they charged toward the Ziying sword and surrounded it. However, no one dared to touch the sword. Instead, they used various methods in an attempt to subdue it. There were even a few people who attempted to drip their blood onto the sword. Arg! With a miserable cry, a holy emperor attempted to fuse a sliver of his soul into the Ziying sword, but the sliver was mercilessly destroyed. His soul was injured, and his face paled. Jinshan's right hand glowed with a blinding white light. It radiated with a shocking amount of sword chi as it fearlessly met King's dragon claw. Ding! The dragon claw was very tough. When Jinshan's sword chi struck the dragon claw, the sound of metal clashing rang out. Then a few drops of blood shot through the air. Each drop of blood contained powerful energy waves. King's body trembled violently. He had a look of disbelief on his face. Jianshan had managed to injure his left hand. One of his fingers had a wound so deep that the bone could be seen. This greatly shocked him. After all, he was the holy emperor of the beast race. His original form was a mutated earth dragon. Whether it was his combat prowess or his physical defense, he was far superior to other magical beasts of the same level. "What are you using?" King growled. He could tell at a glance that Jianshan was not a holy emperor. The only reason he could injure him was because of that powerful white light. He had never seen such a strange and powerful energy before. However, there was something familiar mixed within it. It was like sword chi, but it was not sword chi. The way of his sword. Jianshan replied emotionlessly. His face became even paler. With a wave of his hand, the azulate swords that he had just forged immediately shot down from the sky as streaks of light. They moved as fast as lightning, arriving beside Jianshan in a single instance. They stuck to Jianshan's back in the shape of a cross. Jianshan drew the Ziying sword from his back and channeled chaotic force into it. It immediately erupted with an extremely dazzling violet light, basically enveloping Jianshan's body. However, the violet light failed to harm Jianshan at all. Whether it was the three holy emperors or the various holy emperors in the distance who wanted to subdue a sword, they were all dumbfounded at this sight. Disbelief filled their faces. King, Lankiros, and the Path Lord's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. They understood the power of the two swords very well. It was impossible for holy emperors to subdue them. They were even certain that no one in the world could do anything to the two swords as long as Origin Realm experts did not appear. However, at this moment, the two shocking swords were actually in Jianshan's hands obediently. The light that even the Holy Emperor could not block was unable to harm Jianshan. They found this hard to believe. They even began to wonder if their eyes were playing tricks on them. How is this possible? How did you subdue these two supreme swords? Just how did you do it? The Path Lord of Carnal Desires asked in shock. These swords were forged by me in the first place, so how can I subdue them? Jianshan replied. However, when his words entered the ears of the Path Lord, the Tiger Emperor, and the King, it was no different from a sudden clap of thunder exploding in their minds. It shocked them so much that they were stunned. The Master of the Swords. I never thought that the Tian Yuan continent would have such a great senior. My brave dwarven king, the current patriarch of the dwarves, Han Ku, must ask him for guidance on forging weapons. Once our dwarves grasp such a heaven-defying method, it'll be a new era of prosperity. It'll usher in a new era of forging weapons, Han Ku said excitedly. His face had become bright red. The other experts of the 100 races remained silent. They all stared at Jianshan. They had no idea about Jianshan's background. All they knew was that no one in the world was his opponent now, that such powerful swords were in the hands of a young man. Just two swords can injure the Holy Emperor, coupled with the young man's personal strength. This person cannot be defeated. His opponent is not even our world, but the world of forsaken saints, sighed the elf. The expert of the elf clan exclaimed. She felt that this young man, who had two peerless divine swords, had suddenly become somewhat terrifying. The other experts of the 100 races nodded silently, agreeing with the elf's words. Suddenly, the clear thrum of a sword alerted everyone. It was a long, drawn-out hum that rang through the surroundings. The zing sword chi surged into the sky as it shone with a violet light. It was as bright as the sun and moon, illuminating the entire world. It seemed to have dyed the entire region violet. Jinshin struck out. He used the illusory flash and shot toward Kaiser as a blur. He stabbed out with the zing sword, stabbing toward Kaiser's chest as a violet bolt of lightning. The moment he struck out, Jinshin seemed to have fused with the zing sword in his hand. He was the sword and the sword was him. The two had become one, becoming one. Kaiser's face changed drastically. He knew extremely well just how powerful the zing sword was. He feared the two swords very much, so he did not dare to receive them. He wanted to dodge. However, to his shock, he discovered that his presence had been locked onto. He could not dodge no matter what, because Jinshin's speed had surpassed the illusory flash after fusing with the sword. He turned into a violet streak of light, just like a violet bolt of lightning. He was unbelievably fast. Kaiser roared at the sky. Fine scales appeared on his body as he transformed into a half-human, half-dragon form. At the same time, he used his claws to block the attack. Magical beasts rarely used weapons, and Kaiser was even more so. His body was the best armor, and his claws were the sharpest weapons. The violet light stabbed into Kaiser's claws. Kaiser's tough claws were unable to stop it all. They were as fragile as tofu before the violet light. The violet light pierced through Kaiser's claws like a hot knife through butter. In the end, it pierced through Kaiser's chest, leaving behind an almost undetectable wound. The violet light did not stop because of this. Instead, it did not slow down at all, continuing toward Lankiros with an unstoppable force. It pierced through his body and also left behind a shallow mark on his chest. Chapter 1360. Kaiser and Lankiros became sheet white as blood flowed from the corner of their mouths. Their eyes became stunned, filled with shock, disbelief, and disbelief. Behind them, the violet light dispersed, revealing Jinshin. He carried the azure sword on his back and held the violet sword in his hand as he stared at Kaiser and Lankiros. He said, "I'm not killing you today for the sake of the people of the world. Our war against the world of Forsaken Saints is about to erupt. If you perform meritorious service, I won't look into your past grievances. Otherwise, I definitely won't spare you." Kaiser and Lankiros did not move at all. They were completely dumbfounded, as if they had lost their souls. When a violet light passed through their bodies earlier, their insides had been incinerated. Their organs had been reduced to dust in a single moment. They believed that if Jinshin wanted to, it would not just be their organs that were destroyed. Their souls would be destroyed as well. The violet light was just too terrifying. There was no need for it to strike their souls. Any part of their bodies would have been enough to wipe them out. This was because they were unable to stop the violet sword chi from wreaking havoc in their bodies with their strength. The Path Lord of Carnal Desires stared at Kaiser and Lankiros in a daze from afar. He rubbed his eyes and carefully studied their bodies. His eyes suddenly narrowed, and his face changed drastically. He did not dare to stay for long, fleeing as quickly as he could. He could already tell that Jinshin's strength had increased countless times after obtaining the two swords. He had become extremely terrifying and was not someone he could deal with. The Holy Emperors were stunned by this scene as well. Jinshin had actually defeated two Holy Emperors in a single moment and scared away the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. They felt like they were dreaming. They struggled to accept what had just happened. Sangxion was tongue-tied as well. When Lankiros moved against Jinshin earlier, he had taken the initiative to stop Lankiros in an attempt to protect Jinshin. He had never thought that the outcome would be like this. With the strength Jinshin had displayed, there was no need for him to protect him at all. Killing the Holy Emperor had become as easy as killing an ant for him. Even Kaiser and Lankiros were unable to fight back at all. At this moment, Sangxion could not help but feel that his actions earlier were laughable. Sigh. Sangxiong sighed inside. His gaze toward Jianshan was filled with mixed feelings. Jianshan's growth rate was just too fast. According to the information he possessed, Jianshan was not even 50 years old. Whether it was on the Tian Yuan continent or the Beast God continent, there were many people who had not even reached Earth Saint Master, yet Jianshan had easily killed the Holy Emperor before he was even 50 years old. Even in ancient times, no one had cultivated so quickly. With a flash of violet light, the Ziying sword had left Jianshan's right hand. It stuck to Jianshan's back as a violet streak of light. Jianshan looked at the sagely Sangxiong and clasped his hands. "Thank you for your assistance earlier, Senior Sangxiong." Jianshan's voice was filled with gratitude from the bottom of his heart. Among the holy emperors of the Beast God continent and the human race, he only treated Sangxiong in a special light. Sangxiong waved his hand and smiled in a self-deprecating manner. "With your strength, you don't need my assistance at all. I was rash earlier and made a fool of myself in front of you." Jianshan admires Senior's character. Jianshan still has matters to attend to today, so I must take my leave first. Jianshan will definitely pay a visit to Senior in the future. Farewell. Jianshan clasped his hands and spoke extremely sincerely. "My friend, the Beast God Hall of our Beast God continent is extremely important to the Winged Tiger. Only the Winged Tiger can enter the 99th floor of the Beast God Hall. That place is a great fortune for the Winged Tiger. When you have the time in the future, you must take the Winged Tiger to the Beast God Hall and enter the 99th floor," Sangxiong said. He knew that Jianshan already possessed the ability to take the young Winged Tiger to the Beast God Hall. Jianshan bid farewell to Sangxiong and left the western region, returning to the Sea Realm. Before long, the news of Jianshan defeating the two holy emperors of the Beast God continent and scaring away the Path Lord of carnal desires spread across the entire continent. The entire continent was shocked, causing an uproar among the experts of the four races. When the Grand Elder of Mercenary City, Changyang Zhu Xiao, and the others heard the news, they were immediately stunned. However, they did not go to the volcanoes to watch the battle, so they did not believe it to be true. Only when all the experts of the four races returned to Mercenary City and discussed the matter intensely did they have no choice but to accept it. If we're talking about the greatest expert below the origin realm in the entire world, it's definitely Jianshan. Once Jianshan appears, who can contend against him? Even people as powerful as Kaiser and Lankiros can't block a single strike from him. If we're talking about the greatest weapons in the world right now, it's definitely the twin swords. Once the twin swords appear, even the emperor armaments of the protector clans can't contend against them. Mercenary City immediately became lively. Many holy emperors gathered in the air in groups of 3 to 5 as they discussed Jianshan's battle with Kaiser and Lankiros. Changyang Zhu Xiao, Changyang Zuyin Xiao, and Changyang Zuyin stood before the Divine Hall as they listened to the discussions in the surroundings. They were all extremely excited. Their great-grandson had reached such a high level of cultivation. As his seniors, they felt extremely proud of their great-grandson. In the Chanyang prefecture of Lore City, Bai Yuntian and Changyangba obviously received the news as well. Great joy and happiness immediately filled their chests. The news had come from the saint rulers of the Zhu branch in the Forbidden Grounds, so it was obviously not fake. "Husband, has Xianger formed a vocal cords?" Bai Yuntian asked with a trembling voice. Tears flickered in her eyes. They were tears of excitement. This shocking news came from the Great Elder. "Congratulations, you have an extremely impressive son." A saint ruler from the Zhu branch kindly smiled and said amiably. In the blink of an eye, the saint rulers of the Zhu branch treated Bai Yuntian and her husband completely differently. The raging flame mercenaries. The entire city was in a state of great ecstasy. The excitement in Yu and Bai Lian's hearts had already reached a point of no return. Bai Hai, on the other hand, looked up to the sky and laughed heartily to vent his surging emotions. Jianshan had no idea about the uproar that had occurred on the Tianyuan continent. He had already returned to the Sea Realm and was cultivating in a desolate mountain range. When the twin swords were successfully forged, the sword spirits had already separated from his soul. They had entered the swords. In the past, Jianshan had faced a fatal crisis. He had only managed to survive by fusing with the sword spirits of the azulate swords. For a very long time after that, his soul coexisted with the sword spirits of the azulate swords. Now that the sword spirits had separated from Jianshan's soul, they had become independent. This had obviously taken a great toll on Jianshan's soul. Although his body was fine, his soul was extremely weak, as if it had been heavily injured. Jianshan used a luminous pearl to illuminate the gloomy cavern. He pulled out several violet bamboos from the artifact space. Every single bamboo gave off a faint violet chi, as well as a fragrance that was refreshing. This was the amethyst spiritual bamboo he had obtained from the Xianhuang microcosm. The sap from the amethyst spiritual bamboo was a supreme quality immortal material for healing the soul. At the same time, it could condense and strengthen the soul. It was a priceless treasure even in the immortals' world. Chapter 1361. Jianshan had only obtained several dozen stalks of amethyst spiritual bamboo in the Xianhuang microcosm. He could only refine a single drop of juice from each stalk, so he could only refine a few dozen drops of juice from the stalks he had right now. It was an extremely small amount. Jianshan treasured the amethyst spiritual bamboo very much. If it were not for the fact that the sword spirits had left his soul, it would have affected him greatly. Moreover, he needed to maintain his peak condition right now. He really did not want to waste the extremely precious amethyst spiritual bamboo so easily. Jianshan used the method the sword spirits had taught him to refine a single stalk of amethyst spiritual bamboo into a drop of violet liquid. It shone with a faint violet light as a mysterious energy pulsed within it. It was a wondrous energy that could assist the soul in ascending. Jianshan dripped the juice onto his forehead. As soon as the liquid came in contact with his skin, it immediately fused with his skin, turning into a refreshing energy that nourished Jianshan's soul. The effects of the juice from the amethyst spiritual bamboo were extremely powerful. Jianshan's extremely weak soul actually recovered at an unbelievable rate after being nourished by it. The comfortable feeling came from the depths of his soul. It was extremely wonderful, to the point where Jianshan could not help but moan. Jianshan sat on the ground and slowly closed his eyes. He reveled in the wonderful feeling of his soul ascending. Not only did his soul rapidly recover, but it also became even more consolidated and powerful than before. Half a day later, the effects of the amethyst spiritual bamboo gradually faded away. Jianshan's soul had recovered by half as well. Even though he had not recovered to his peak condition, Jianshan could feel that his soul had become even more powerful than before. If his soul was a fist-sized clump of dirt before, his current soul was an egg-sized rock. Although the size was different, it was much tougher. Jianshan's heart was filled with joy. Originally, he thought that he would need at least several amethyst spirit bamboos to restore his primordial spirit. He did not expect that just one bamboo would restore half of his primordial spirit. Such a powerful effect made him very surprised. Without hesitation, Jianshan began to refine the second drop of amethyst spirit bamboo juice. One day later, Jianshan's Yuanshan finally recovered to its peak condition. Just 2 drops of amethyst spiritual bamboo juice had made his Yuanshan several times stronger than before. When he spread out his divine sense, he could actually cover a radius of over 200,000 miles. This was unimaginable in the past. This was because every increase of 10,000 miles in the range of one's divine sense required one's primordial spirit to be extremely powerful. The strength of my soul should have reached the peak of the Holy Emperor's level, or even surpassed the level of the Holy Emperor, Jianshan muttered to himself, filled with joy. Now that he had successfully forged the azulate swords, not only could he use the way of the sword with greater ease, but he could also use it with greater ease. He could also learn many powerful sword techniques. Coupled with the fact that his soul had become so powerful, was there anyone in the world who was his opponent apart from the origin realm? Master, You may have forged the azulate swords, but they still haven't become soul-bound treasures. Once they become soul-bound treasures, not only will they assist Master in comprehending the way of the sword, but they'll also become even more powerful. However, this process will take some time. It requires Master's mind to fuse with the swords before they can be forged into soul-bound treasures. It's not suitable for that right now. Master, let's teach you the most basic sword techniques first. After successfully forging the azulate swords, Jianshan had truly embarked on the path of the way of the sword. Afterwards, Ziying and Qing Suo passed on various sword techniques to Jianshan like a teacher. They guided Jianshan in the correct direction on the path of the way of the sword. This was much faster than Jianshan fumbling around by himself, and he could avoid many detours. Although Ziying and Qing Suo were only sword spirits, they had existed for far too long. They knew many things, especially when it came to the way of the sword. They possessed extremely valuable experience, so no matter what problems Jianshan encountered or what he did not understand, Ziying and Qing Suo could resolve them all. The way of the sword is vast and profound. It requires a very long period of time to comprehend it. I've only just grasped the basics right now, barely reaching sword origin. There's still sword spirit, sword immortal, sword sage, and sword god. I still have a very long way to go. Jianshan sighed emotionally. Right now, he seemed to see a whole new world before him. Suddenly, Jianshan formed a seal with his hand. Ziying immediately produced a clear hum as it flew into the sky from behind him. In a single moment, it expanded to 10 meters long and half a meter wide. It shone with a dazzling violet light, obscuring the sword. Jianshan leapt onto the enlarged Ziying. As he formed a seal with his hand, Ziying immediately turned into a violet bolt of lightning. It shot off with extreme speed, disappearing into the horizon in a single moment. It was countless times faster than Jianshan using the illusory flash. Sword flight was one of the sword techniques that Ziying had taught Jianshan. It was the most basic ability of a sword cultivator, so Jianshan grasped it in an extremely short amount of time. Ziying seemed to have turned into a streak of light, yet it also seemed to have turned into a violet bolt of lightning. It moved so quickly that even the Holy Emperor was unable to catch it. Jianshan traveled on his sword as his clothes fluttered in the wind. He gave off an indescribable presence, as if he really was a sword immortal. He stared blankly at the blurry scenery around him as he sighed in amazement. Sword flight was just too fast. Even with his eyesight, he was unable to clearly see the scenery around him. He could only observe with the senses of his soul. After grasping sword flight, I'm not much slower than space gates, Jianshan thought. Space gates could cross through space, allowing him to cross hundreds of thousands, millions, or even tens of millions of kilometers with a single step. However, he felt that it would not take him too long to cross such a great distance with the speed of sword flight. In less than 2 hours, Jianshan arrived at the Poseidon Hall. He stopped 10 kilometers away from the Poseidon Hall and flew in with the azulate swords on his back. Everyone who saw Jianshan bowed politely as soon as he entered the Divine Hall. Even a few of the Holy Emperor elders greeted Jianshan with smiles. They were extremely polite. The name of the Emperor of the Turtle Clan had already spread across the entire Sea Realm. Basically everyone knew about him, causing a huge commotion in the Sea Realm. Now that the Holy Emperor elders saw Jianshan, they obviously had to treat him politely. Even the hall elders were inferior before Jianshan. This was the benefit of strength. The fist reigned supreme. Jianshan saw Yadrium in a majestic hall. Only Jianshan and Yadrium were present in the cold and quiet hall. Yadrium was not protected by the blue light today, so her appearance was clearly revealed to Jianshan. She was alluring, just like a goddess. Her bearing was filled with a sense of dignity. Are those the weapons you forged? Yadrium stared at the 2 swords on Jianshan's back in surprise. Her face was rather strange. Jianshan nodded seriously. That's right. I've already forged the swords, and my strength has increased drastically. Even if the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple and the Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall come together, I can easily slay them. Hall Master, You can begin the reconstruction of His Majesty Poseidon. Yadrium smiled. Her smile was very beautiful, like the blooming of flowers. It was the most beautiful color in the world. She said, "You can easily slay the two Hall Masters of the Heaven Spirit Hall and Serpent God Hall, even if they come together. Jinshin, are your two swords really that powerful? Have you forged weapons that can rival His Majesty's weapons?" Yadrium clearly did not believe Jinshin. Even she was unable to slay two Holy Emperor experts so easily. Jinshin smiled. "My two swords might be even more powerful than the weapons His Majesty Poseidon used in the past." Chapter 1362. 3 days later, Jinshin and Yadrium left with Poseidon's Divine Hall. They headed to where Poseidon's body was being rebuilt. Over 20 Holy Emperor elders and a few Divine Hall elders followed them. Poseidon's reconstruction required a vast amount of energy of the world, so it would cause the energy of the world to become abnormal in the sea realm, alarming everyone. The elders' mission was to stop the experts who had come to investigate the matter. They did not directly participate in the battle. Yadrium flew through the air with the experts of Poseidon, while Jinshin followed beside her on his violet sword. He seemed extremely elegant, which attracted the gazes of Yadrium and the Holy Emperor. All of them were amazed. This was because they had never seen or heard of flying on a sword before, so they obviously found it to be extremely novel. Poseidon's reconstruction requires 99 spiritual springs as support. These springs are all buried deep underground and form from spirit veins. It's impossible for anyone who isn't powerful to find them. These 99 spirit springs are spread throughout the entire sea region. Your Majesty's body will need to be at the center of these spirit springs to draw upon their spiritual energy. Unfortunately, that location is not within our Sea God Hall's territory, but within the Heavens Spirit Hall's territory. As a result, we'll be heading to the Heavens Spirit Hall this time. Yadrium explained to Jinshin through a communication technique along the way so that he could prepare himself. As for the Saint Emperors behind them, they still had no idea where the Hall Master was taking them. What were they going to do? Yadrium did not spread the news of Poseidon's reconstruction. She had kept it a secret, so no one else knew about it aside from her and Jinshin. The fewer people who knew about this, the better. Jinshin nodded silently. Although he was heading to the territory of someone else, he did not feel pressured at all. Very soon, Yadrium and the others left the territory of the Poseidon Hall and set foot in the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall. "Hall Master, we 3 halls have an agreement. Without permission, no one from the Divine Hall is allowed to set foot in the territories of others, but we." An elder immediately raised his doubts. He was an ordinary elder at the 6th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. "Hall Master, do we have to declare war on the Heaven Spirit Hall to change the current situation and unite the Sea Realm?" A Hall elder at the great perfection of the Holy Emperor asked in doubt. He was very unsettled. If that really was the case, the Sea Realm would be thrown into turmoil. "There's no need to ask," Yadrium coldly replied. She was emotionless. There was a layer of bright blue light around her, obscuring her figure. No one could see her true form. The group of elders immediately stopped talking. They followed behind her silently, but they were nowhere near as calm as they seemed on the surface. Now that the ruler of the Turtle Clan had become a Saint Emperor, coupled with his unknown friend, the Poseidon Hall could be said to possess 3 Holy Emperors. They had completely surpassed the other 2 halls. Uniting the Sea Realm was not impossible. At the same time, the Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall, who was nurturing his soul in a secret room, suddenly snapped open his eyes. 2 streaks of light shot out from his eyes, which was extremely shocking. His gaze seemed to be able to pierce through space, passing through the various obstructions and looking into the distance. Suddenly, he stood up and became extremely stern. He said with a deep voice, "Yadrium and Jinshin have come to our Heaven Spirit Hall with a group of people. What do they want to do?" The Hall Master suddenly became rather uneasy because he thought of a terrifying matter. If Yadrium and Jinshin worked together to attack his Heaven Spirit Hall, they would be unable to do anything. His Heaven Spirit Hall would struggle to stop them with their strength. The hall master vanished from a secret room. Soon, an ear-piercing sound of a horn rang out from the divine hall, reaching a radius of several 100,000 kilometers. With the heavens spirit hall as the center, the expressions of all the experts within a radius of several 100,000 kilometers changed when they heard the horn. That's the war horn. Who knows how long it's been since it was blown? Is the heaven spirit hall about to start a war with someone? Once the war horn is blown, all experts must hurry to the divine hall as reinforcements. At that moment, countless people emerged from seclusion and hurried to the divine hall of the heaven spirit hall as quickly as they could. None of them were weak. They were all saint rulers or holy emperor. Not only were there independent cultivators, but there were also representatives and ancestors of various large organizations. Of course, there were also a few people who left the territory of the heaven spirit hall and headed to the territories of the serpent god hall and Poseidon's hall. They wanted to remain uninvolved and did not want to interfere. Yadrium and the ruler of the turtle clan had entered the territory of the heaven's spirit hall without any prior notice, which made the hall master feel great danger. As a result, he blew the war horn without any hesitation to gather his forces. In a very short amount of time, the heaven spirit hall had completed their preparations for battle. Everyone in the divine hall was prepared for battle. The divine hall hovered in the air and shone with resplendent light. Various formations had been activated, erupting with terrifying pulses of energy. They were all waiting for Yadrium's group to arrive. However, Yadrium's group stopped 100,000 kilometers away from the boundary between the two regions. Afterward, the 20-odd holy emperor experts that had come with him spread out in all directions, guarding the surroundings. Only Jianshan and Yadrium remained. Jianshan glanced around and saw that they were in a barren mountain range. The energy of the world was not dense, so he could not help but ask, "Is this the place where Poseidon's majesty reconstructed his body?" Yadrium nodded. "Correct, this is the place. Although the energy of the world is thin here, it just happens to be in the center of the 99 spirit springs. I need to immediately cast down a formation to connect the 99 spirit springs and draw all the energy here. We cannot be disturbed during this time. Leave it to me," Jianshan said before leaping onto a nearby mountain. He sat on the ground and enveloped a radius of 100,000 kilometers with the senses of his soul as he stood guard over Yadrium. Yadrium immediately got to work. She chopped down several mountains with a wave of her hand and cleared out an empty space. She then began casting down the formation. This was a formation that came from Poseidon. It was extremely profound and complicated, able to draw on the energy of the 99 spirit springs scattered across the sea realm. Even with Yadrium's strength, casting it down was rather difficult. The number of experts rapidly increased in the supreme divine hall of the heaven spirit hall. Reinforcements poured in endlessly from all directions, waiting for the arrival of the enemy. Yadrium walked through the forest in the barren mountain range as she cast down the formation with all her strength. The formation was extremely large, spanning a radius of 100 kilometers. It was not something that could be cast down in a short amount of time. Jianshan sat on a mountain with his azulets swords on his back. He used the senses of his soul to observe a radius of 100,000 kilometers as he continued to comprehend the sword techniques the sword spirits had imparted to him. These sword techniques were all basic. Apart from sword flight, which was used to travel, the other sword techniques were all offensive. Because they all came from a higher realm, the power of these basic sword techniques far surpassed Saint tier battle skills. One of the sword techniques that interested Jianshan the most was actually similar to the sword manipulation with the soul that he often used in the past. It also used the soul to control the sword, but the power it displayed was completely different from before. It could kill enemies from 1,000 kilometers away. As long as they were within the range of his soul, he could control the sword with his soul to attack them. Chapter 1363. In the blink of an eye, Jinshin's group had already spent half a month in the mountains. It was very peaceful during that time. Jianshan remained where he was, comprehending his sword technique, while Yadrium remained focused on casting down formations. She still had not finished after half a month. After half a month of preparation, the defenses of the supreme, divine hall of the Heaven Spirit Hall were at their strongest. All the experts who obeyed the orders of the divine hall had come. Of course, there were a few people who completely ignored the war horns of the Heaven Spirit Hall and continued to do as they pleased. All the experts gathered in the divine hall of the Heaven Spirit Hall tensely waited for half a month. Seeing that there were still no traces of the enemy, all of them began to wonder. The Hall of Poseidon still hasn't attacked. Are they afraid? If the Hall Master of Poseidon and the Emperor of the Turtle Clan work together, it won't be too difficult for them to defeat the Heaven Spirit Hall. I'm just curious as to why they haven't done anything yet. Perhaps the people of the Hall of Poseidon know that our Hall Master has already contacted the Hall Master of the Dragon God Temple. Perhaps the Hall Master of the Dragon God Temple is hiding in the darkness, waiting for an opportunity. The Hall Master of Poseidon and the Emperor are not confident in dealing with the combined forces of our Heaven Spirit Hall and the Serpent God Hall, which is why they haven't attacked yet. A Hall Elder heard the discussions of the crowd and immediately snorted in dissatisfaction. What do you know? Our Heaven Spirit Hall is an ancient power that has been passed down for several 100,000 years. Although there hasn't been anyone who has surpassed Emperor, there have been many emperors throughout history. Our heritage is deep, so we obviously have a means to stop emperors. We don't even need the assistance of the Serpent God Hall. Just our Heaven Spirit Hall can stop the Hall Master of Poseidon and the Emperor of the Turtle Clan. That's true. Our Heaven Spirit Hall has stood in the sea realm for several 100,000 years. Our roots are deep, and we've gone through all sorts of calamities. Even if the Hall Master of Poseidon sends out 3 holy emperors, they still won't be able to break through our Heaven Spirit Hall. Someone else immediately complimented the Hall Elder when they heard him speak. At this moment, the Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall stood emotionlessly at the highest point of the divine hall. He gazed into the distance and murmured, "Strange. Yadrium and the ruler of the Turtle Clan have already entered my territory for so long. So why have they remained there without moving?" The Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall could sense the location of Jianshun, Yadrium, and the others as he remained in the divine hall, but he was unable to find out what they were doing because this was not his own ability. Instead, he was using the formations of the divine hall along with a secret technique. He was unable to sense such a distant place with his strength unless some great battle had occurred. Afterward, the Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall sent people to investigate. He wanted to understand what the Hall Master of Poseidon and the Emperor of the Turtle Clan were doing. But the report he received was that the people who went to investigate were unable to approach the place no matter what they did. They were all blocked by the Holy Emperor of Poseidon's Hall. Even if they used a secret technique to make their way over, they would be forced back by a sword chi that came from nowhere. They were unable to approach the place at all. During this period of time, the news that the Hall Master of Poseidon wanted to attack the Heaven Spirit Hall spread across the entire sea realm, causing a great uproar. Everyone learned that the Hall Master of Poseidon and the Emperor of the Turtle Clan were in a barren mountain range, which attracted many people of the sea race to watch. However, all of them were blocked by the Holy Emperor of Poseidon's Hall. In the blink of an eye, another half a month passed. After a whole month, Yadrium finally finished casting down the formation. She then said to Jianshun, "Everything is ready. Let your majesty begin." Jianshun opened his eyes and stood up. He said, "Hall Master, you've expended a lot of energy. Hurry up and recover. I'll protect you from now on." With a flip of his hand, the supreme divine hall of Poseidon immediately appeared in Jianshun's hand. It then flew into the sky on its own, becoming a huge divine hall that was several thousand meters tall in the blink of an eye. Poseidon's illusionary figure appeared before the divine hall. This was a clone of her soul that had been conjured from a sliver of her soul. Her hands slowly moved in a wondrous pattern, as if she was controlling some mysterious energy in the world. At that moment, the mountains began to flicker. Every single mountain in a radius of 100 kilometers began to glow with blue light as a huge formation began to appear. Jianshun flew into the sky. He stood on the 10-meter-long Ziying sword and looked down at the formation. Yadrium had spent a month casting down the formation, but only Poseidon could activate it. With the activation of the formation, the energy of the world began to become extremely unstable. Vast amounts of energy of the world began to gather from all directions before being sucked into the formation. The center of the formation was filled with darkness. The space there was distorted, making it impossible to see what was inside. All the energy that had been sucked into the formation had entered the black hole after being converted by the formation. The 8 wastelands of the world, vast amounts of energy, gather. Poseidon called out. She began to form hand seals, and the formation immediately changed. It began to shine with a bright blue light as it began to rapidly revolve. At the same time, a total of 99 pillars of blue light shot into the sky from different locations in the sea realm. They formed a blue ribbon in the sky as they shot toward the formation at an extremely fast speed. Every single pillar of blue light was condensed from pure water elemental energy. They all pulsed with tremendous energy. Not only did the activation of the formation draw in the energy of the 99 spiritual springs, but it also absorbed the energy in the surroundings. All the energy of the world in the sea realm was affected and began to surge toward the formation. Poseidon required an extremely vast amount of energy to reconstruct her body. She had already drawn in all the energy in the sea realm, causing an unprecedented disturbance. The abnormality of the energy of the world caused a panic in the sea realm. Many people had no idea what was happening. All the people who were still in seclusion ended their cultivation at that moment, because the energy of the world had gone berserk. Continuing to cultivate would not only be useless, but it would also be harmful. What's happening? Why is all the energy of the world surging in the same direction? Let's go take a look according to the direction of the energy of the world and understand the reason. More and more people were either flying in the air or riding on various kinds of mounts. They were all rushing in the direction of the flow of heaven and earth Yuan Qi. For a time, the sea was boiling and people were surging. Large groups of sea race people gathered towards the formation from all directions. Mixed in with them were many outsiders from the human race and the beast race. The surging energy of the world had already turned into a storm in the barren mountains of the Heaven Spirit Hall. The light from a formation below became brighter and brighter, and the rate at which it absorbed the energy of the world became faster and faster. In the end, all the energy gathered into the black hole in the center of the formation. Jinshin stared at the black hole with narrowed eyes. He thought, if I cultivate in there, I'll definitely cultivate very quickly. I might be able to reach the 5th layer of the chaotic body. However, Jinshin only thought about it. The energy of the entire sea realm gathered there, so it would harm the very foundation of the sea realm. With a muffled sound, the door to the supreme divine hall opened. A thumb-sized bead wrapped around the sea goddess soul and left the divine hall. It slowly fell into the black hole at the center of the formation. Jinshin's eyes narrowed because he discovered that the pearl was extremely similar to the treasure that protected the souls of Reijin, Heiyu, and Heiyu. They were basically the same. I never thought that the pearl the winged tiger gave them would have such a powerful effect. Not only can it protect the soul, making it immune to all attacks, but can even keep Poseidon's soul alive for so long, Jinshin thought. He already knew that Poseidon had died many years ago. It was all thanks to the assistance of the winged god that his soul was able to survive all this time without dispersing. Jinshin, materials for reconstruction. Poseidon's voice rang out in Jinshin's head. He immediately pulled out the silicone gel and essence of the spring of life he had obtained from the Xianhuang microcosm. He tossed them all into the black hole in the center of the formation. Poseidon's reconstruction was already in progress. If she successfully recovered, another Origin Realm expert would appear in the world, and it would be an Origin Realm expert that had existed since ancient times. Yadrium silently recovered 100 kilometers away. She had expended a lot of energy casting down the formation, so she needed to return to her peak condition as soon as possible. Otherwise, she was not confident that she could fend off the combined attacks of the two holy emperors of the Heaven Spirit Hall and the Serpent God Hall. She did not believe what Jinshin had said at all. The Ziying sword hovered 1,000 meters in the air without moving. Jianshan sat on it as he protected Poseidon's reconstruction. Even the Holy Emperor would not be able to hide from his senses with the senses of his soul. The Heaven Spirit Hall was in an uproar. Their divine hall was located where the energy of the world was the densest, but now the energy there was being absorbed as well. No matter what they did, they could not stop it. The Hall Master stood at the highest point of the Heaven Spirit Hall as he stared outside in doubt. He murmured, "Just what are Yadrium and the others doing?" At this moment, several blue pillars of light shot through the sky at an extremely fast speed. They came from different directions and all gathered in the same spot. Every single pillar of light was condensed from pure water elemental energy. They were vast and majestic. This is the energy of the spiritual spring. The Hall Master of the Heavens Spirit Hall cried out. He arrived outside in a flash and looked at the sky. He gradually became stern. "Oh no, Poseidon is already undergoing the revival ceremony. I never thought that Yadrium would actually go to the Sea of Despair with Jianshan and bring out Poseidon's divine hall." A deep voice rang out from beside the Hall Master of the Hall. A deep voice rang out from beside the Hall Master of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Another person had silently appeared there. It was the Hall Master of the Serpent God Hall. Chapter 1364. Then what should we do? The Hall Master of the Heaven's Spirit Hall asked with a heavy voice. His complexion was very ugly as the light in his eyes flickered. What else can we do? Of course we have to stop it. We can't let Poseidon successfully revive, or we won't have a good life ahead of us. Don't forget about some of the things we've done in the past. Poseidon already knows about them. She also knows about the ambitions of our past Hall Masters. If she succeeds in reviving, the first people she'll eliminate will be our two halls. The two of us might even die as well, said the Hall Master Dragon God Temple with a heavy voice. The Hall Master of the Heaven's Spirit Hall remained silent, but killing intent had already surged out of his eyes. In the past Hall Masters of the two halls had always been searching for the abyssal crystal in secret. They wanted to use it to find Poseidon's divine hall in the Sea of Despair and devour Poseidon's soul, so that they could replace Poseidon. However, the abyssal crystal only appeared in the depths of the Sea of Despair. Even emperors would struggle to reach it, and there was even a chance of dying. The past Hall Masters of the two halls never had the opportunity to obtain it, which prevented them from entering the Sea of Despair. Only in this generation did the abyssal crystal finally appear in the Sea Realm. The ambitions of the past Hall Masters of the two halls have been passed down through the generations as well. As a result, the current Heaven's Spirit Hall and Hall Master Dragon God Temple had once participated in the struggle for the abyssal crystal. They had both sent experts to pursue Jianshan in an attempt to obtain the abyssal crystal and find Poseidon's divine hall in the Sea of Despair. During Poseidon's revival, Jianshan and Yadrium will be protecting him. Although Yadrium hasn't cultivated as long as us, her strength is unfathomable. None of us will be her opponent if we fight her alone. Coupled with Jianshan, who's not weak either, it'll be difficult for us to deal with them, said the Hall Master Dragon God Temple. The Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall remained silent for a while before saying, Jianshan is very complicated. He destroyed a strand of my soul back then, so it's damaged. Even now, it still hasn't fully recovered, so my battle prowess has been affected. Coupled with your injuries, we definitely won't be able to gain an advantage if we face-to-face with them. The Hall Master Dragon God Temple glanced at the Hall Master of the Heaven's Spirit Hall in surprise. After a moment of thought, he said, Poseidon's revival won't be completed in a short amount of time. We still have some time to prepare. If we set it up properly and bring some powerful killing formations with us, we'll be able to keep them busy for a while. All we need to do is interrupt Poseidon's revival in an extremely short amount of time. We might even be able to use this opportunity to obtain what we've been dreaming about. Desire immediately appeared in the Hall Master Dragon God Temple's eyes when he reached the end. The Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall's eyes lit up as well. He became rather excited. There's no need to fight Yadrium and the others. We just need to keep them busy with formations. Let's go prepare immediately. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us. The Hall Master Dragon God Temple and the Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall both returned to their divine halls and began to make preparations. 99 pillars of blue light condensed from pure water energy directly shot into the black hole in the center of the formation where Poseidon had been revived. The energy of the world in the mountains had become extremely dense, forming a thick layer of mist. All the energy of the world in the sea realm had gathered there. I never thought that Poseidon's revival would cause such a great disturbance and require the assistance of the energy of the entire sea realm. Once she succeeds, the energy of the world in the sea realm will probably become much thinner than before. It'll take several decades for it to recover, Jianshan murmured to himself as he sat on the Zing sword. Several days later, Yadrium recovered to her peak condition. She stood guard 1,000 kilometers away, facing the direction of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. With the bare mountain as the center, the surroundings were filled with people. There were people below Saint Rulers, and Saint Kings. These people had all found this place based on the flow of energy of the world. There were over 100,000 people. Moreover, the number was still rapidly increasing. At this moment, the elders of the Poseidon Hall were extremely useful. Over 20 of them stood guard in one direction, keeping everyone 10,000 kilometers away and preventing anyone from approaching. Since they represented the Poseidon Hall, and all of them were Holy Emperor saints, they obviously possessed extraordinary deterrence. Even though there were Holy Emperor saints among the people who had hurried over, none of them dared to come into conflict with the Poseidon Hall, just in case they caused trouble for their clans. Half a month later, the number of people there had almost reached 10 million. Many people from the territories of the Serpent God Hall and the Poseidon Hall had come in an attempt to investigate the source of the abnormality in the energy of the world. During that time, countless rumors regarding this place spread. There were all sorts of rumors, but the most popular one was about a heaven-defying treasure. This was because all the energy of the world in the sea realm had gathered there, accompanied by strange phenomena in the sky. That was the best proof, making it even more convincing. There would always be people who could not suppress their greed when it came to treasures. In the beginning, a few experts used various secret techniques to sneak in, but they were either invited out by the Holy Emperor elders of the Poseidon Hall or slain mercilessly by a strand of sword chi that appeared out of nowhere. There was even a famed 16th star expert in the sea realm who managed to sneak in 10,000 kilometers past the senses of the elders of the Poseidon Hall. In the end, he was mercilessly slain several dozen kilometers away. A powerful strand of sword chi chopped him in half. His blood dyed the sky as his organs were incinerated. His soul was wiped out on the spot, shocking countless people in the surroundings. Ever since then, the number of sea race experts who tried to sneak in decreased drastically. Everyone realized in their hearts that there was an even more terrifying expert guarding the place. Suddenly, a tremendous pulse of energy appeared in the distance. A group of people aggressively hurried over from afar. The people in the lead were all great perfection Holy Emperor saints. Several hundred people followed behind them, and just the Holy Emperor made up half of them. It was an extremely powerful group. It's the people from the Divine Hall. They've finally come. The people of the Poseidon Hall have broken the treaty and openly entered the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, marking it off without permission. The Divine Hall should have done something long ago. If I've guessed correctly, the Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall is here as well. Otherwise, why would he order over 20 elders to stand guard here and stop us? Even the Emperor of the Turtle Clan and his friend are here. If that's the case, doesn't that mean that the Poseidon Hall has 3 emperors? The Heaven's Spirit Hall will probably return empty-handed. Everyone discussed. Although many of them disapproved of the actions of the Poseidon Hall, they did not have a good impression of the strength of the Heaven's Spirit Hall either. Warriors of the Poseidon Hall, you have overstepped your boundaries. Please leave the territory of our Heaven's Spirit Hall immediately, and we will let bygones be bygones. a hall master of the Poseidon Hall said with a deep voice. A hall elder of the Heaven's Spirit Hall said with a heavy voice. His voice resonated through the surroundings, reaching a radius of 10,000 kilometers. This place has been temporarily taken over by us. Elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, please make things easier for us. Once our esteemed hall master is done, we will leave immediately. A hall master of the Poseidon Hall hurried over from nearby and clasped his hands at the group of people from the Heaven's Spirit Hall. This is the territory of our Heaven's Spirit Hall, not your Poseidon Hall. Without the permission of our hall master, you have no right to take over this land. Warriors of the Poseidon Hall, please leave immediately, or do not blame us for being rude, a hall master of the Heaven's Spirit Hall said with a deep voice. A hall elder of the Heaven's Spirit Hall said with a sunken face. Soon after, a tremendous presence radiated from his body, directly pressing towards the elder of the Sea Goddess Hall. He seemed like he would start a fight as soon as he disagreed. The hall master of the Poseidon Hall became rather stern. There were several hundred people on the other side, and half of them were Holy Emperor. He only had around 20 people on his side. The difference in strength was just far too great. Once they began fighting, they would not be able to last even a single round. Just as the Holy Emperor of the Poseidon Hall were stuck in a dilemma, the temperature in the surroundings suddenly plummeted. In a single moment, the surroundings seemed to have become a cavern of ice. It was extremely cold, and even the Holy Emperor could not help but shiver. Yadrium had silently appeared there. She was enveloped by a layer of intense, blue light that illuminated the surroundings. It was impossible to see her appearance, but she gave off a terrifying presence that could make the world tremble. Just by herself, she had suppressed the several hundred people of the Heaven's Spirit Hall like a hot knife through butter. Yadrium's appearance did not cause the people of the Heaven's Spirit Hall to panic at all. All of them remained composed. A hall master bowed to Yadrium and said, "Esteemed hall master of the Poseidon Hall, have you forgotten about the agreement? Without the permission of our hall master, you're not allowed to set foot in the territory of our Heaven's Spirit Hall. Please abide by the rules of the agreement. Hall master of the Poseidon Hall. The area of 10,000 kilometers around here has been temporarily taken over by us. No one is allowed to set foot in here, and anyone who disobeys will be killed without mercy." Yadrium only replied with a single sentence. She was cold and emotionless, forceful and decisive, leaving the experts of the Heaven's Spirit Hall speechless. At the same time, Jianshan sat on the Zing sword with his eyes closed in the air above, where Poseidon had been reconstructed. Suddenly, something happened. The space around him violently distorted and his vision blurred. When it cleared up again, he had arrived in a world of corpses and blood. The world was blood-red, and endless, baleful presence permeated the surroundings. The corpses on the ground piled up into small mountains, making it seem like hell. It was hair-raising. Endless, baleful presence began to gather, forming circles that were difficult to see with the naked eye. They wrapped around Jinshin's body layer by layer. This was a powerful trapping formation that could trap the Holy Emperor for a while. At the same time, the circles of baleful presence possessed a suppressive effect, making it difficult for people to unleash their full strength. Jianshan was enveloped by the formation in a single moment. Jianshan did not panic at all as he sat on the Zing sword. He slowly opened his eyes and gently smiled. "Hall masters, I've endured for so long. You've finally taken action." Jianshan, looks like you won't be able to remain the emperor of the Turtle Clan for much longer. Today is the day you die. The voice of the hall master of the Dragon God Temple rang out. He had come to an agreement with the hall master of the Heaven's Spirit Hall before they had arrived. If they had the chance, they would first work together to kill off the ruler of the Turtle Clan, because the ruler of the Turtle Clan had risen up far too quickly. The threat he posed to them was far greater than the hall master of the Poseidon Hall. Chapter 1365. Jianshan raised his head and studied the formation. He said, "This is only a trapping formation. It's not enough to kill me. Hall masters, if you still want to kill me, use the killing formations you've brought with you." Jianshan, since you want to die so much, we'll fulfill your wish, the Hall Master sternly said. The Hall Master of the Serpent God Hall said sternly. With that, a killing intent immediately permeated the surroundings. The scenery before Jian-Chun changed once again. The blood-red hell vanished and appeared in a hazy, gray space. The trapping formation was still present. Jian-Chun could still feel a mysterious power on him, trying to suppress his strength. Now that the killing formation had overpowered the trapping formation, the Hall Master Dragon God Temple had placed him in the trapping formation. The two formations seemed to be fusing together. Suddenly, the roars of dragons rang out. 9 10,000-meter-long serpent dragons appeared in the surroundings, radiating with powerful and terrifying presences. Every single serpent dragon was no weaker than the Holy Emperor. This is a formation cast down from the essence blood of the past Hall Masters of the Serpent God Hall. Every single serpent dragon is condensed from essence blood. Jian-Chun murmured to himself. His soul was so powerful right now that the senses of his soul had already pierced through the killing formation, allowing him to see through it clearly. The 9 serpent dragons furiously roared as they flew over from his surroundings. They charged toward Jian-Chun in an unstoppable manner. Every single serpent dragon seemed to be a living holy emperor. Their tremendous presences overlapped with one another and crushed toward Jian-Chun, almost causing space to collapse. The Serpent God Hall and the Heaven Spirit Hall were tremendous organizations that had existed for countless years after all. They had given birth to countless holy emperors during that time, far more than the Tian-Yuan continent. Although no origin realm experts had appeared after Poseidon, there were plenty of talented Hall Masters who had created earth-shaking Tian-level saint techniques and various killing formations. Jian-Chun and Tai Ta had fought against the Hall Master Dragon God Temple not because the Hall Master Dragon God Temple was not powerful enough, but because he had been too careless and had not made sufficient preparations. However, it was different this time. In order to kill Jian-Chun, the 2 Hall Masters of the Serpent God Hall and Heaven Spirit Hall had made sufficient preparations. Even though they were injured, they were still extremely powerful. Jian-Chun, I like to see how you get through this formation. This is the 9 Dragons Formation of Destruction. It's a powerful killing formation created by a Hall Master of my Serpent God Hall who had reached the peak of Emperor in his later years. Even Emperors will face life-threatening danger if they're trapped inside, let alone you. The Hall Master of the Serpent God Hall sneered. Perhaps the 9 Dragons of Destruction formation was still a little lacking when used against Yadrium. But if it was used on the ruler of the Turtle Clan, who had just become an emperor, he would definitely suffer greatly. He might even die in the formation. Due to the influence of the formation, the 9 serpents that were transformed from the great emperor's blood essence could unleash the power of a great emperor for a short period of time. It was too easy for the 9 great emperors to join forces to kill a newbie who had just become a great emperor. Jian-Chun did not move as he sat on the Ziying sword. He formed a seal with his hand, and the Qing Suo sword on his back immediately shone with a dazzling azure light. With a hum, the Qing Suo sword flew out from Jian-Chun's back as a streak of light, striking one of the dragons with lightning-like speed. Silently, the dragon that seemed like a real holy emperor vanished into thin air, reduced to nothingness. How is this possible? The Hall Master Dragon God Temple sensed the change in the killing formation as soon as possible. Disbelief immediately filled his face. After destroying the first dragon, the Qing Suo sword flew toward the other 8 dragons at an extremely fast speed. It moved as fast as lightning and was difficult to see with the naked eye. All that could be seen was a flash of azure light. It was impossible to capture it. In less than a second, the 9 dragons had been destroyed by the Qing Suo sword. They did not even have the chance to approach Jian-Chun before they were all wiped out several thousand meters away. Impossible. This is impossible. The Hall Master Dragon God Temple was dumbfounded outside the formation. He stared blankly at the scene before him as disbelief flooded his face. The 9 Dragons Formation of Destruction was a powerful formation that his Serpent God Hall took great pride in, Yet it was so weak before Jianshan. He struggled to accept this. Boom! With a violent rumble and a dazzling azure light, the Qing Suo sword shattered space with a single slash. It unleashed great power and shattered the trapping formation cast down by the Hall Master Dragon God Temple. Jianshan reappeared. He remained seated on the Ziying sword in the same posture as before. Only a single sword that shone with azure light hovered above his head. The Hall Master of the Heavens Spirit Hall was stunned. He stared at Jianshan in shock and actually forgot to cast down a new formation. Formations are useless against him. He has treasures that specialize in destroying formations. Use quaking thunders. The Hall Master Dragon God Temple called out. With a flip of his hand, 2 quaking thunders that pulsed with powerful energy appeared in his hand. Jianshan's eyes narrowed as surprise filled his face. This was because the quaking thunders in the Hall Master Dragon God Temple's hands actually pulsed with energy that was no weaker than the Holy Emperor's quaking thunders. Jianshan had obtained quite a few quaking thunders in the divine realm before, but the highest grade he had obtained was only at the 16th star. He had never seen any quaking thunders of a higher grade. However, the 2 quaking thunders in the hands of the Hall Master Dragon God Temple had clearly surpassed the 16th star. They had reached the 17th star, or even the 18th star. The Hall Master Dragon God Temple felt rather pained when he took out the 2 quaking thunders. Quaking thunders of such a high grade had not been produced in the sea realm for several tens of thousands of years. The quaking thunders in his hands had been left behind by the past Hall Masters of the Serpent God Hall several tens of thousands of years ago. Every single one of them possessed devastating power, enough to kill the Holy Emperor. He did not have a lot left now, so every single one of them was gone. However, Jianshan's rate of growth was just far too shocking. Now that his grievances had run deep, he would bring disaster to the Serpent God Hall sooner or later if he did not leave. This was why the Hall Master Dragon God Temple had made up his mind to eliminate Jianshan regardless of the cost. A long whistle rang out from afar. Yadrium's killing intent surged as she hurried over as quickly as she could from 10,000 kilometers away. The terrifying presence she gave off was enough to obliterate the surroundings, causing the surrounding space to violently tremble. Chapter 1366. That's the voice of the Hall Master of Poseidon. Whose majesty the Hall Master speaks of. The Hall Master of Poseidon is one of the 3 great leaders of the sea realm. He's an emperor with the greatest status. Just who else could be the majesty the Hall Master of Poseidon speaks of? Yadrium's shout caused an uproar in the crowd. Everyone began to wonder just who this majesty was to be referred to as a majesty by the most powerful emperor of the sea realm. Was there an existence in the sea realm that was even more esteemed than the Hall Master of Poseidon? Could it be the previous Hall Master of Poseidon? Is the previous Hall Master still alive? Someone guessed. That's impossible. Even if the previous Hall Master is still alive, he's only referred to as the previous Hall Master. It's impossible for him to be a majesty. An expert immediately refuted. He was a 15-star expert and possessed great experience. He possessed a certain level of understanding of the inner workings of the 3 divine halls. Suddenly, the ancestor of a peak organization seemed to think of something. His face drastically changed as he involuntarily cried out, "Since ancient times, only the gods of our sea race have the right to be called majesty. Could it be that the great Poseidon hasn't died and is still alive today?" What? The great Poseidon hasn't died? That's impossible. It's been 1,000,000 years since ancient times. The words of the great ancestor of a top force left countless people dumbfounded. Everyone had an incredulous look on their faces. That's right. The Hall Master of Poseidon's earlier words said that Poseidon is currently undergoing the resurrection ceremony. The Hall Masters of the Heaven Spirit Hall and the Serpent God Hall are doing everything they can to stop the great Poseidon's resurrection, another 16th-star expert said. He was also the ancestor of a peak clan. He was shocked, having been stunned by the shocking news. Heavens, the great Poseidon is actually still alive. This is just too unbelievable. Many people sighed in amazement. Poseidon, one of the 4 experts who had surpassed the Holy Emperor in ancient times, was actually still alive. The news was like a thunderclap to the entire sea realm. It would cause a great disturbance in the sea realm. 10,000 kilometers away, just when the Hall Master of the Serpent God Hall was about to throw out the 2 quaking thunders, Yadrium's furious roar suddenly rang out from afar. This made both his and the Hall Master's expressions change. If Yadrium were to make it in time, if Yadrium arrived, it would not be so easy for them to kill the ruler of the Turtle Clan and disrupt Poseidon's resurrection ceremony. Yadrium was young, but she was not weak. As a matter of fact, both the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple and the Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall began to describe her strength as unfathomable. Even when they were in peak condition, they had no confidence in defeating Yadrium, let alone when they were both injured. Go keep that girl busy. Leave this to me. The Hall Master of Dragon God Temple growled as cold, killing intent filled his eyes. The Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall did not hesitate at all. He immediately charged toward Yadrium as various formation banners appeared in his hands. He tossed them into the air, and they immediately vanished into thin air. The next moment, the space around Yadrium violently trembled. In a single moment, she had vanished. She had been trapped by the formation. The Hall Master of the Heaven's Spirit Hall knew that the formation alone would not be able to do anything to Yadrium, but he did not stop there. He tossed out various formation banners one after another, casting down 8 formations in the shortest amount of time possible. Every single formation was extremely powerful, enough to deal with emperors. There were even killing formations that were no weaker than the 9 Dragons formation of destruction. The Hall Master of the Heaven's Spirit Hall immediately let out a sigh of relief when he saw that Yadrium had been successfully trapped. He secretly thought, "These formations are useless against Jianshun, but I refuse to believe that they'll be useless against you." Originally, many of the formations were prepared for Jianshun, but the Hall Master of the Heaven's Spirit Hall switched to Yadrium after seeing how they were useless against Jianshun. On the other side, the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple stared at Jianshun with a vicious smile. He was about to toss out the 2 quaking thunders in his hands. However, Jianshun was a step faster than him. The Ziying sword beneath his feet instantly returned to its normal size and appeared in his hand. It shot toward the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple as a violet streak of light. The violet streak of light moved just far too quickly. Jianshun had closed the distance between him and the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple, so the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple did not even have time to react. The violet streak of light arrived before him and chopped off his hands. Jianshun took the 2 quaking thunders from the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple's chopped off hands and calmly returned to where he had been before. The Serpent God Temple grunted when his hands were chopped off. His face immediately became rather pale. Strands of violet light flickered where his wounds were. The remaining sword chi illuminated his wounds, bringing him excruciating pain. It caused his facial muscles to twist. Blood fell from the sky. A large amount of blood sprayed from the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple's chopped off hands, causing a rain of blood to fall from the sky. This was the blood of the Holy Emperor. Every single droplet of blood pulsed with powerful energy. It was a rare treasure to regular fighters. This time, Jianshun did not waste any of it. He pulled out a huge gourd from his space ring and sucked all the blood in. The Hall Master of the Serpent God Hall stared at his bloody wrist in shock. His eyes had already widened to the size of bells. His face was filled with disbelief, as well as a strange sense of fear. "This is impossible. This can't be real," the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple cried out. His gaze towards Jianshun was filled with fear as he staggered backwards. Jianshun stood on the Ziying sword once again. He studied the 2 quaking thunders in his hands as he faintly smiled. "How surprising. I've actually obtained 2 quaking thunders of such high quality." The Serpent God Temple really is an ancient organization that has existed for several 100,000 years. Fear was written all over the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple's face. He stared fixedly at the Zing's sword beneath Jinshan's feet and said in fear, "This definitely isn't your personal strength. Jinshan, what are you using?" Jinshan placed the two quaking thunders into his space ring in satisfaction. He looked at the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple and said, "These are swords that I've just forged. With these two swords, I can kill the Holy Emperor like ants." Hall Master of Dragon God Temple, feel free to use whatever tricks you have. Chapter 1367. A gleam of light flashed through Jinshan's eyes. He did not move from his position on the Ziying's sword. Instead, he formed a seal with his hand, and the Qing saw sword hovering above his head immediately chased after him as a green streak of light. This was a sword technique similar to using the soul to control a sword, but it was much more powerful than the one he had once grasped. As long as he was within the range of his soul, he could control the sword to behead an enemy from tens of thousands of kilometers away. Jinshan's soul had become much stronger after being strengthened by the sap of the amethyst spiritual bamboo. It could now cover a range of 200,000 kilometers. As long as the Hall Master Dragon God Temple did not escape this range, he would not be able to break free from the pursuit of the Qing Suo sword. Under the control of Jinshan's soul, the Qing Suo sword seemed to have surpassed the speed of lightning, traversing 1,000 kilometers in a single instance. Even though the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple was fleeing as fast as he could, he was still slower than the speed of the Qing Suo sword. The Qing Suo sword shone with a green light as it quickly pursued. The Hall Master of Dragon God Temple also discovered the pursuit of the Qing Suo sword. Seeing that he could not break free from the pursuit of the Qing Suo sword, a gleam of light immediately flashed through his eyes. He thought, "This sword can unleash unimaginable power in Jinshan's hands. It can easily break through emperor-level formations. However, I'm already so far away from Jinshan, and there's no one controlling the sword. I refuse to believe that I can't deal with an uncontrolled sword with my strength. I have to take this sword this time. With this sword in hand, there's no need to fear Yadrium. As for Jinshan, he's even weaker than me now that he has lost these two swords." The blood from the wounds on the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple's hands had already stopped. He slowly waved his two missing arms in front of him. Immediately, a surge of energy surged out, quickly condensing into a 2-meter-wide shield in his left hand. A layer of fine scales appeared on his body, covering him from top to bottom. Every single scale shone brightly as powerful energy pulsed from them. A hand completely condensed from energy had already taken shape in his right hand. It had almost materialized. He held the shield in front of him and used the hand to grab the Qing Suo sword. However, the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple had still underestimated the power of the Qing Suo sword. The Qing Suo sword had just been refined. Under the circumstances where no one was controlling it, it was already capable of injuring the Holy Emperor. Furthermore, the Qing Suo sword was currently being secretly controlled by Jinshan's divine sense. Its power was far greater than before. When the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple's giant hand came into contact with the Qing Suo sword, it was as weak as tofu. The Qing Suo sword easily pierced a hole through the giant hand. Then, without slowing down in the slightest, the Qing Suo sword continued shooting toward the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple. Pooh! The shield in the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple's hand shattered. The Qing Suo sword brought along a green light as it pierced through his body. With the defense of the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple's Flood Dragon body, there was no way for him to block the attack. The Hall Master of Dragon God Temple's body suddenly stiffened, and his face instantly turned pale. Then, he opened his mouth and spat out a large mouthful of blood. The blood turned into a bloody mist and drifted down from the sky. There was also a lot of powder from his internal organs mixed in a mist. When the Qing Suo sword pierced through his body, an extremely powerful sword aura exploded in his body. In just an instant, the internal organs in his body were minced into powder. Even his physical body had suffered a destructive injury. A large amount of blood flowed out from the pores all over the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple's body, dyeing him red. His body, which was floating in the air, was on the verge of collapsing. His injuries were very serious, and he could no longer hold on. The Hall Master of Dragon God Temple was completely stunned. He couldn't believe that he had suffered such serious injuries. Right now, almost half of his physical body had been destroyed. His internal organs had been destroyed, and even more than half of the flesh and blood in his body had been turned into powder. Only his primordial spirit was still intact. Jinshin stepped on the Ziying sword and flew over from afar. He lifted the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple with one hand and then flew back. He said, "Hall Master of Dragon God Temple, no one can stop Poseidon from forming his body. You'd better follow me back and wait for Poseidon's punishment. This way, you might still have a chance to live. Of course, if you try to escape from your primordial spirit, then don't blame me for destroying your primordial spirit." The Hall Master of Dragon God Temple's face became ashen when he heard that. Despair filled his eyes. On the other side, the Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall focused on controlling the formation against Yadrium. The space before him violently distorted as terrifying pulses of energy radiated from within, causing the space there to tremble. At this moment, there was a flash of azure light. The Qing Suo sword flew over from afar as a streak of light. It passed through the Hall Master's back with lightning-like speed and struck the formation before him. Boom! With a deafening boom, 3 of the 8 formations cast down by the Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall were instantly destroyed. The other 5 formations were heavily affected as well, becoming rather damaged. Spurt! The Hall Master vomited a mouthful of blood as he stared at the Qing Suo sword in disbelief. His body swayed a few times in the air before plummeting to the ground. Boom! 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 With the formation damaged, it was no longer as powerful as before. Yadrium used all her strength to break through the formation. With a series of loud booms, a powerful ripple of energy finally erupted. Yadrium had broken through the remaining 5 layers of formations and escaped. She shone with a dazzling blue light that illuminated the surroundings. Terrifying pulses of energy shook up the surrounding space, causing it to ripple. She gave off an extremely terrifying presence. A mermaid statue appeared behind her. It hovered there as if it had fused with Yadrium. Yadrium charged out with her trident. Although the trident was not Poseidon's weapon, it still gave off a chilling presence. As she gently swung it, tiny black lines would appear. These are cracks in space. Yadrium did not discover Jinshin after breaking free. As soon as she charged out of the formations, she discovered the Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall falling to the ground. Without saying anything more, she extended her trident, and a powerful pillar of energy shot toward the Hall Master. "Your Majesty, please hold on." Jinshin's voice rang out in Yadrium's head. At the same time, there was a flash of azure light. Qing Suo's sword arrived first, swooping down from the sky and blocking the pillar of energy with its blade. The pillar of energy struck Qing Suo's sword and erupted with a great boom. However, Qing Suo's sword did not budge at all. Its azure light remained as powerful as before while the pillar of energy from Yadrium's trident vanished. The Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall had managed to survive. He fell from a height of several thousand meters, causing a mountain to collapse from the impact. He then laid on a pile of rocks as he blankly stared at the sky. He was unable to return to his senses even after quite a while. Chapter 1368. Yadrium became rather stunned as she stared at the Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall, who was unable to climb to his feet. She could already tell that the Hall Master was extremely heavily injured, to the point where he had basically lost the ability to move, which surprised her. This was because she was not the one who had injured the Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall. With a flash of azure light, the Qing Suo sword that had blocked Yadrium's attack and scathed turned into a streak of light and returned to Jinshin's back. Jinshin flew over on his sword from afar and said to Yadrium, "Hall Master, the Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall is very heavily injured. He can't endure another attack from you, or you'll probably wipe him out on the spot." Yadrium shifted her gaze away from the Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall and stared at the Qing Suo sword on Jinshin's back without blinking. She still could not forget how the azure sword had flown over from afar and blocked her powerful attack effortlessly. Jianshun, is that really a weapon you forged? Yadriam asked. She found it very difficult to believe that Jianshun could forge such powerful swords. Jianshun indifferently smiled. Speaking of which, I can only be considered as half a forger. I was only able to forge these two swords with the assistance of an expert. I only played a supporting role. However, the power of these two swords might be greater than the weapons of His Majesty Poseidon. Hall Master, do you believe what I said back then? With these two swords, it won't be difficult for me to kill the Hall Masters of the Heaven Spirit Hall and Serpent God Hall. Yadriam glanced at a nearby mountain. She saw the Hall Master of the Serpent God Hall lying on the ground like a pile of mud after losing his hands. He stared at the sky soullessly as despair filled his eyes. Yadriam sighed inside. Her gaze toward Jianshun was filled with mixed feelings. Back then, Jianshun was only a puny saint ruler in her eyes. A person at that level was no different from an ant to the Hall Master of Poseidon. Only a short amount of time had passed, yet Jianshun had grown from a puny saint ruler to a level that even shocked her. Yadriam knew that she was no longer Jianshun's opponent. At the very least, she was unable to heavily injure two emperors as easily as Jianshun had. He's become even more terrifying with such a powerful weapon. Probably only experts who have surpassed Emperor Realm can suppress Jianshun, Yadriam thought. She became rather gloomy. She could not help but think of herself. She had cultivated for several thousand years to reach her current level of strength. Yet Jianshun had become even more powerful than her in just a few decades. She felt very unsettled. Right now, our world is facing the threat of the world of Forsaken Saints. If we don't have enough strength, the day they attack our world might be the day of our destruction. We just happen to need strength right now. Hall Master, I don't think we should kill the two of them right now. After all, Holy Emperors are just far too rare. Every additional Holy Emperor will strengthen our defenses. What do you think, Your Highness? Jianshun asked. He did have some grievances with the two Hall Masters of the Serpent God Hall and Heaven Spirit Hall, but he would rather eliminate the threat of the world of Forsaken Saints first before settling his personal grievances. Yadriam stowed her trident away, and her powerful presence slowly dispersed. After a moment of thought, she nodded. You're right. The world of Forsaken Saints is far too powerful. Killing each other right now is no different from digging our own graves. I won't take their lives, but their fates will still be decided by Your Majesty. Afterward, Yadriam placed the Hall Masters of the Heaven Spirit Hall and the Serpent God Hall together. She used a secret technique to seal their strength to prevent them from secretly recovering and escaping. Jianshun took the space rings of the Hall Master and Hall Master of Dragon God Temple without any hesitation. He obtained a large amount of wealth from them. His greatest harvest was the 8 quaking thunders that could heavily injure the Holy Emperor. Before long, the news that the Hall Master and Hall Master of Dragon God Temple had been subdued by the Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall and the ruler of the Turtle Clan spread. It caused an uproar among the crowd. Many people had already realized that the balance of power in the sea realm that had existed for countless years was about to change. The situation that had persisted for so many years was about to be rewritten. However, both the status and reputation of the Turtle Clan skyrocketed after the battle, causing everyone to fear them. Although many people did not have high hopes for the strength of the Turtle Clan, they would forever remain at the apex of the sea realm as long as the Emperor of the Turtle Clan did not fall. They would become a colossus like the 3 Divine Halls. After the Emperor of the Heaven Spirit Hall was captured, the experts that belonged to the Heaven Spirit Hall all left dejectedly. Some of them believed that the Heaven Spirit Hall was done for, so they left halfway and parted ways with the Heaven Spirit Hall. The news of the 2 Hall Masters being captured spread across the entire sea realm very quickly, shocking the world. In a medium-sized organization called the Kaler Tribe, the patriarch of the Kaler Tribe had been extremely worried recently. His daughter Kea had received the cultivation method of the Emperor of the 8 Wastelands from the ruler of the Turtle Clan, so she had been cultivating in seclusion recently. Her strength had increased extremely rapidly, which should have been something worth celebrating for the patriarch as her father. However, what made him feel helpless was that Kaya's cultivation consumed an extremely large amount of resources. She required a large number of crystal coins. He had already done everything he could to take away a large portion of the crystal coins that were allocated to his clansmen, but it was still not enough to satisfy Kaya's needs. This caused the patriarch to feel extremely troubled. The Kaler tribe was only a medium-sized one. They were not wealthy. Although they possessed a low-grade crystal mine, the amount they could mine in a year was extremely limited. It was only enough to maintain the cultivation grounds of their clansmen. Kaya's cultivation had basically taken up half of the resources, so many clansmen had been given less crystal coins than before. This had already led to a large wave of opposition in the clan, which caused the patriarch to feel very pressured. I hope my good friends won't disappoint me and can provide me with some assistance so that my daughter can become stronger faster, thought the patriarch. All he could do now was place his hopes on his good friends. At this moment, a guard walked in from outside and said, "Patriarch, the patriarchs of the TYT tribe, Herman tribe, Golden Sword tribe, Dakar clan, and Tingwei clan have come to visit." The patriarch rejoiced and sighed and said, "Invite them in." "No, I'll personally go welcome my old friends. It's been many years since I've seen them." The patriarch chatted happily with his old friends in a secret room of the Kaler tribe. He had once ventured through the sea realm with these old friends when he was young. They had sworn blood oaths and gone through trials of life and death together. They were extremely close, and they had all become leaders of organizations now. "My old friends, I had no choice but to invite you here this time. My daughter has recently obtained an impressive cultivation method and is devoting herself to it. Once she has mastered it, she will become an emperor and rule over a region," said the patriarch of the Kaler tribe. Chapter 1369. This cultivation method was gifted to my daughter by the supreme emperor of the Turtle clan in the past. It said that once she has mastered the cultivation method, she will become an emperor. Once my daughter becomes an emperor, it'll be a great time for both my tribe and all of you to soar, said Kaiton. He was extremely at ease with his old friends. After all, they had all gone through trials of life and death together in the past. The eyes of everyone present narrowed when they heard that. Shock filled their faces. After quite a while of silence, one of them asked, "Kaiton, since the emperor of the Turtle clan has given your daughter such a powerful cultivation method, you must have some relationship with the emperor of the Turtle clan, right? Why have we never seen your Kaler tribe interact with the Turtle clan?" Kaiton gently sighed. "To be honest, my tribe has never had any relationship with the esteemed emperor of the Turtle clan. It's all because of my daughter. My daughter was fortunate enough to meet the emperor of the Turtle clan once when she ventured out, which was why she received his great favor and was bestowed with his supreme cultivation method." "I see. I've heard that the Kaler tribe has a relationship with the ruler of the Turtle clan several years ago, but it was only a rumor back then. It had never been proven. Looks like the rumor is true after all. The ruler of the Turtle clan from back then has already become an emperor that can shake up the sea realm. Kaiton, you've basked in the glory of the emperor of the Turtle clan, so it's only a matter of time before you soar. Don't forget about your old friends once you become famous." His old friends all smiled apologetically, each of them looking very happy, causing Kaition's face to be filled with pride. "Kaition, I'm sure you didn't call us here just to show off how amazing your precious daughter is now, right? Tell us, what kind of trouble have you encountered? Based on our many years of friendship, we will help you no matter how big of a problem it is." An old man spoke. Although he looked very old, his actual age was about the same as Kaition's. Kaition gently coughed and said, "To be honest, my daughter's need for crystal coins is just far too great. With the wealth of our tribe, it's not enough to support her cultivation. In order to not delay her cultivation, I had no choice but to invite my old friends here. I want to borrow some crystal coins from you. I'll definitely pay you back double in the future. It's just a few crystal coins. Don't worry, Kaition. In order for Kaya to become an emperor sooner, we'll do our best to support her, even if we have to tighten our belts. Don't you all agree?" said a young man. He was the patriarch of the Herman tribe. That's right. We'll send the crystal coins over as soon as we return, said the patriarch of the TYT tribe. Kai Tion's 5 friends all expressed their willingness to support him, which made him very happy. Although his daughter rarely asked him for crystal coins, Kai Tion knew that the crystal coins he gave Kea every month were nowhere near enough for her cultivation needs. In order for his daughter to become an expert that could shock the world, Kai Tion basically did everything he could to gather cultivation resources. Kai Tion's 5 friends all left. Several days later, the 5 of them returned to the Kaler tribe with a large number of crystal coins. They were warmly invited by Kai Tion to his secret room. In the secret chamber, Kai Tion gratefully accepted the space rings from his 5 friends. After checking them, his face immediately lit up with excitement. The 5 space rings each contained 10 million to 30 million crystal coins. The total amount of crystal coins in the 5 space rings was close to 100 million crystal coins. This was an extremely great fortune to the Kaler tribe. My old friends have probably lent me all the wealth their clans have accumulated over the years to help Kea become an emperor sooner. Once Kea becomes powerful in the future, I have to get her to take good care of my old friends. Kai Tion was overjoyed. The 100 million crystal coins brought by his old friends was a timely help to him. This filled Kai Tion's heart with gratitude. He swore to himself that he would never forget the kindness of his old friends today. At this moment, the door to the secret room opened. An old man ran in from outside in a panic. Kai Tion frowned. Right now, he was discussing a confidential matter with a few old friends. Naturally, he didn't want to be disturbed by outsiders. He was just about to open his mouth to complain, but when he saw that it was this old man, he forcefully swallowed the words he was about to say. This old man was one of his seniors. His name was Kai Lu. Although he wasn't as strong as Kai Tion respected him very much. Kai Lu's eyes were filled with hatred as he glanced at the 5 people in the secret room. He then worriedly said to Kai Tion, "Patriarch, it's bad. The TYT tribe, Herman tribe, Golden Sword tribe, Dakar clan, and Yenwei clan have surrounded our Kaler tribe. Our tribe has suffered heavy casualties, and rivers of blood have formed. We can't stop them anymore." What? Kai Tion was shocked. His face was full of disbelief because the patriarchs of the 5 families were here at this moment. Moreover, they were very close friends with him. At this moment, Kai Tion's 5 friends struck out at the same time. While Kai Tion was distracted, the 5 of them struck out with their palms at the same time. At the same time, they controlled space to restrain Kai Tion, preventing him from dodging. Spurt. Kai Tion immediately vomited blood as he heavily slammed into the wall of the secret room. The entire room violently shook from the impact. Kai Lu's expression changed drastically. He glanced at the heavily injured Kai Tion as deep sorrow filled his eyes. Without saying anything else, he turned around and fled. We can't let him get away. The Kaler tribe can't let a living person escape, or we'll be in trouble. I'll chase after him, the patriarch of the Golden Sword tribe said with a heavy voice as he immediately chased after the old man. However, at this moment, a formation inscription suddenly appeared on the wall of the secret room. Kai Tion had activated the formation in the secret room at this moment, sealing it off and preventing the patriarch of the Golden Sword tribe from escaping. The patriarch of the Dakar clan studied the formation and said, "This formation is not weak. It'll take the 5 of us some time to get through it. Don't worry, we've already set up an inescapable net outside. I guarantee that no one will be able to escape. The news won't leak." Kai Tion staggered to his feet. His face was currently pale as he stared at his old friends in disbelief. His heart ached as he asked with a trembling voice, "Why? Why are you doing this? I've always treated you as my best friends. In the past, we ventured into the sea realm together, traversing through mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Have you forgotten the oath we swore with our blood? Just what have I done to offend you for the 5 of you to work together against me?" The patriarch of the TYT tribe gently sighed. "Kai Tion, do you really treat us as your friends? Since you treat us as friends, why didn't you share such a powerful cultivation method with us when your Kaler tribe obtained it. We'll share our joys and sorrows. Kai Tian, that was our oath back then. We didn't go back on our words. You wanted crystal coins, so we gave them to you. However, your Kaler tribe wanted to take the cultivation method that could allow one to become an emperor for themselves. The one who went back on the oath was you, not us, coldly said the patriarch of the Golden Sword tribe. Kai Tian smiled as 2 streams of blood flowed down his face. He murmured, "So you wanted the cultivation method of the Emperor of the 8 Wastelands. How laughable. I treated you as my best friends, yet you set me up for the cultivation method." The blood oath of the past was so laughable, and the friendship of the past was so fragile. I hate it. I shouldn't have trusted you so easily. Not only have I harmed my tribe, but I've harmed my daughter as well. It's actually the cultivation method of the Emperor of the 8 Wastelands. The Emperor of the Turtle Clan probably relied on this cultivation method to become an emperor. Kai Tian, give us the cultivation method of the 8 Wastelands, and we'll still be friends. Once we all become emperors, the entire sea realm will belong to us, the patriarch of the Dakar clan said eagerly as his eyes lit up. The gazes of the patriarchs of the other 4 clans burned with desire as well. Their breathing became heavy. The cultivation method of the Emperor of the 8 Wastelands was extremely tempting to them. In particular, when they heard that the Emperor of the Turtle Clan had relied on this cultivation method to become an emperor, their hearts began to thump uncontrollably. Kai Tian laughed at the sky. He laughed very maniacally as surging energy surged from his body. He then suddenly charged toward the 5 of them. He did not care about his own life, wanted to take them down with him. At the same time, he used the formation to attack. Kai Tian, since you don't care about our brotherhood and want to take the cultivation method for yourself, don't blame us for being merciless, the patriarch of the Golden Sword clan called out. Kai Tian's strength was on par with the 5 of them, not to mention the fact that he was heavily injured right now. He was not the opponent of his 5 good friends, so he collapsed in a pool of blood very soon. His soul had been wiped out. Let's get through the formation quickly and go find Kea. The cultivation method of the Emperor of the 8 Wastelands must be on Kea, the patriarch of the TYT tribe said to the 4 of them as he blocked the attacks from the formation. The Kaler tribe was only a medium-sized tribe. Although they had been around for quite some time, they did not possess a great heritage. The formation in the room was unable to stop the 5 saint rulers at all. They broke through the formation very quickly when they worked together. Cries of battle rang out from the Kaler tribe outside. The clansmen of the Kaler tribe were engaged in an intense battle against the 5 great clans. A barrier enveloped the surroundings, preventing the clansmen of the Kaler tribe from escaping. The disparity in strength between the 2 sides was just too great. The ground was littered with corpses and rivers of blood. Basically, all the people who had fallen were from the Kaler tribe. Kai Lu stood outside the door to another hidden room in the Kaler tribe. He no longer cared if he was disturbing the person cultivating in the room. He used the most brute force he could muster to knock on the heavy stone door, causing it to produce a series of thumps. Very soon, the door to the room opened and a gentle light shone out. Kea sat in the center of the room in her white robes. She formed a seal with her hands, and her gaze was calm, as if she hid another world. She gave off a sacred presence. It was as if a goddess with an extraordinary presence was sitting there. Kea had clearly undergone a drastic change after practicing the cultivation method of the Emperor of the 8 Wastelands. "Uncle Lu, you seem so flustered. What happened?" Kea calmly asked. However, her presence changed as soon as she spoke. Her sacred presence vanished, and she became ordinary once more. Kai Lu hurried into the room and said, "Kea, run. Your father's 5 good friends are all ambitious. They worked together to kill your father, so he's probably dead now. Our Kaler tribe is facing destruction as well. Kea, run quickly, or it'll be too late." Kea was shocked. She suddenly stood up and asked, "Uncle Lu, what's going on?" Chapter 1370. Kea arrived beside Kai Lu in a single stride. She grabbed his arm and asked in a hurry, "Uncle Lu, what about my father? How is he?" Kai Lu shook off Kea's arm, and pushed Kea away in a hurry. He said, Kea, don't worry about your father. You can't save him. Leave quickly, or it'll be too late. You're the only hope of our tribe. You have to survive, so only then can you avenge all the people who've died in the future. No, I have to save my father. Kea was filled with worry and worry. She also felt some fear. She could already tell the severity of the situation from Kai Lu's words. She was extremely afraid of losing her father. Your father has already been ambushed by 5 of his friends who are as strong as him. Those friends are probably after your cultivation technique. Silly girl, you won't be able to save your father. Even if you hand over the cultivation technique, they won't leave a single one of you alive. Don't hesitate. Hurry up and leave, Kai Lu said anxiously. He would occasionally turn around to look behind him, his face filled with unease. Uncle Lu, you go first. I have to go save my father. Kea spoke firmly. She gently shook off Kai Lu's hand and charged off with lightning speed. No matter how Kai Lu pleaded behind her, he was unable to stop her. Boom! As soon as Kea emerged from the room, a violent boom rang out. The ground in the distance cracked as soil was thrown into the air. Powerful ripples of energy radiated out from the cracks. A 10-meter-wide crater had been blasted open at the center of the explosion, leading straight to the ground. The patriarchs of the 5 clans slowly flew out from the crater. They carried the lifeless Kai Tion in their hands. Father, Kea discovered Kai Tion in their hands with a single glance. Her eyes immediately became bloodshot as she sorrowfully cried out and charged over without any regard for her own safety. Kea, you've come at just the right time. Hand over your cultivation method, or you'll end up like your father, the patriarch of the Dakin clan said with a burning gaze. The patriarch of the Dakar clan said with burning desire. He looked at Kaya like she was a huge treasure trove. His eyes were filled with greed, and he arrived before Kaya with a flash. He directly extended his hand in an attempt to capture her. It was you who killed my father. Kea sorrowfully cried out at the sky. She was heartbroken as tears rolled down her cheeks. Blue light radiated from her body as a powerful aura radiated from her. She struck out with a palm strike, fighting the patriarch of the Dakin clan. With a muffled sound, Kea collided with the patriarch's palm. Her body swayed, and she was sent flying over a dozen steps. Every step left behind 2 deep footprints in the ground. The patriarch of the Dakin clan violently trembled. He swayed a few times on the spot before shock filled his face. He said, Kea, I never thought that you would have already become a 13th-star expert. The 13th star was equivalent to the 1st to 4th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler on the Tian Yuan continent. This level of strength could be regarded as the apex in a few small or medium-sized clans. It must be the cultivation method of the Emperor of the 8 Wastelands. The cultivation method of the Emperor of the 8 Wastelands really is wondrous. The ruler of the Turtle clan has become an emperor in such a short amount of time after cultivating it. Kea is also cultivating the same cultivation method, so her strength has increased so quickly as well. The eyes of the patriarch of the TYT clan shone as his emotions surged. It was as if he could already see the moment he became an emperor. You must obtain the cultivation method, said the patriarch of the TYT clan. He was an extremely young man and was extremely handsome. He only seemed to be in his 20s, and he was also very greedy. The patriarch of the Dakin clan struck out once again. This time he did not hold back. A 3-meter-long spear appeared in his hand as it radiated with powerful pulses of energy. He stabbed it toward Kea with lightning-like speed. At the same time, he used his Saint Ruler abilities to restrict Kea's movements. He wanted to end the battle as quickly as possible. The energy around Kea swelled, shining with a bright blue light. She stared at the 5 people before her in hatred. She spread her arms, and countless specks of white light gathered from the surroundings, condensing into 8 spears around her. Every single spear was 8 meters long. Although they were blurry, a mysterious energy flowed through them. 8 wastelands activate. Single slash. Kea yelled out. The 8 spears immediately shot into the sky with light, breaking through the frozen space in an instant. They then shot toward the patriarch of the Dakin clan in a straight line. Boom! 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 The patriarch of the Dakin clan had already reached the 14th star and was at the 6th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. He was far more powerful than Kea, so he used a spear to block the 8 spears. With 8 booms, the ground was filled with dust and dirt. Powerful ripples of energy wreaked havoc in all directions. The patriarch of the Dakin clan destroyed the 8 spears one by one. However, although Kea had just become a Saint Ruler, the 8 spears she had condensed were very powerful. After destroying the spears, the patriarch of the Dakin clan uncontrollably retreated several dozen meters. His hair was disheveled and his clothes were disheveled. He was not injured, but he was in horrible shape. The patriarch of the Dakin clan was not angered at all. Instead, the greed in his eyes became even more intense. He excitedly said, "This must be a secret technique created by the Emperor of the 8 Wastelands. It's actually so powerful. You actually managed to force me back with your strength. It's already comparable to a Tion-level Saint technique. You can use it so quickly. This secret technique is even better than a Tion-level Saint technique," the patriarch of the Yenwei clan said excitedly. He was rather eager to obtain the cultivation method. The patriarch of the TYT tribe was impatient as well. He said, "Stop wasting time. Let's end this quickly. Let's all attack together." The 5 of them struck out at the same time, using their full strength. All of them were rather impatient, so they went as far as to lower themselves to deal with Kea, who had just become a Saint Ruler. It was already extremely difficult for Kea to deal with one of them by herself. Now that the 5 of them had struck out together, she was unable to fight back at all. She condensed another 8 spears to force back one of them. She no longer had the power to deal with the attacks of the other 4. The spear passed through Kea's shoulder, while the trident left behind a long gash on her chest. The other 2 struck Kea's chest with their hands at the same time. Spurt! Kea vomited blood as she was blown away. She became extremely pale. If it were not for the fact that the 5 of them wanted to obtain the cultivation method from her and did not want to harm her life before they obtained it, the wave of attacks probably would have been enough to wipe out Kea's soul. Kea, run. Remember, avenge our Kaler tribe in the future. The ones who destroyed us were the TYT tribe, Herman tribe, Golden Sword tribe, Dakin clan, and Tingwei clan. Kai Lu called out from the distance. Kai Lu charged over from afar and called out miserably. He held a 14-star quaking bomb in his hand, directly charging towards the patriarchs of the 5 clans. "Be careful, he has quaking thunders." The patriarch of the Herman clan called out. He immediately controlled space to restrain Kai Lu. However, Kai Lu was already close enough to them. The quaking thunders had already been activated, and with a great boom, Kai Lu's old body was devoured by the tremendous energy released by the quaking thunders. The patriarchs of the 5 clans all retreated to avoid the shock waves from the quaking thunders. "Uncle Lu!" Kea produced a heart-wrenching cry. She was grief-stricken. She constantly vomited blood as tears streamed down her face. The barrier around the Kaler tribe constantly trembled from the shock waves from the quaking thunders. It shook violently. Kea glanced in the direction Kai Lu had vanished in. She endured her pain as her body trembled. She gritted her teeth and opened her arms, condensing another 8 spears to throw at the barrier. Boom! With a great rumble, a huge hole was ripped open in the barrier. Kea charged toward her father's corpse as quickly as she could. She picked up the corpse and charged out of the barrier. She did not even look back. "Chase after her. We can't let her escape." The patriarchs of the 5 clans panicked. They all pursued as quickly as they could. Chapter 1371. Kea fled as quickly as she could with her father's corpse. Tears constantly flowed from her eyes as blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. Her eyes were filled with hatred and grief. The patriarchs of the 5 clans pursued closely from behind. All of them used their full strength and even used secret techniques that could increase their speed. They had to capture Kea because not only did it affect whether they could obtain the cultivation method of the Emperor of the 8 Wastelands, but it also affected their fates in the future. We can't let her escape no matter what. It's rumored that she has some ties with the emperor of the Turtle Clan. Although it hasn't been proven, we need to be cautious. That's right. If Kea finds the emperor of the Turtle Clan, we probably won't be able to escape death even if we flee to the ends of the world, said the patriarchs of the 5 clans. They were all stern. They had underestimated Kea's strength. None of them had thought that Kea would actually possess the strength to break through the barrier, which led to something like this. Kea was nowhere near as strong as the 5 of them, but in terms of speed, she was no slower than them. In fact, she even surpassed them. 8 spears appear behind her. Although they were blurry, every single one of them radiated with a mysterious presence. A mysterious power circulated within them. The 8 spears were 3 meters long and planted behind Kea in a fan shape. At the same time, a mysterious power radiated from the spears, connecting them together. From afar, they seemed like a pair of wings. The wings slowly flapped, allowing Kea to possess incomparable speed. She did not need to use any other secret techniques to move at a speed that even 7th Heavenly Layer Saint Rulers could not compare to as a new Saint Ruler. The 5 people became more and more anxious when they saw the distance between them and Kea widening. The patriarch of the TYT tribe coldly said, "We can't catch up. I'll use a secret technique to mark her so that we can track her." The chief of the TYT tribe immediately began to use a secret technique. A drop of blood flew out from the tip of his tongue and shot towards Kea with lightning speed before disappearing. This was his innate secret technique. Only this kind of race could cultivate it. Not everyone could grasp it. Once one was affected by this secret technique, they would be able to sense it even from a considerable distance away. It was difficult to eliminate it. In the territory of the Heavens Spirit Hall, in the barren mountain where Poseidon had revived, there were already over 10 million oceanic clansmen gathered here. All of them silently stood 5,000 kilometers away, and not a single one dared to try and charge in. During this period of time, the news of Poseidon's imminent resurrection had spread throughout the entire sea region, attracting countless people to come and watch. Many people were in high spirits, looking forward to the day when Poseidon would return. In ancient times, the sea god had wholeheartedly considered the interests of his people and made great contributions to his people. He had even laid down a protective barrier to protect the sea region. He was the most respected person in the sea region at that time. Now, the times were different. Many years had passed since ancient times, so Poseidon's prestige was not as great as before. There were even a few experts who began to harbor ill intentions. However, there were still a few people who supported Poseidon and followed Poseidon blindly. Not everyone had changed. 3 months later, the water elemental energy from the 99 spirit springs had disappeared, and the formation had stopped absorbing the yuan qi of heaven and earth. After a period of intense consumption, the yuan qi of heaven and earth in the entire sea area was rapidly weakening, leaving less than 60%. It would take a long time for the yuan qi to recover. The reconstruction of Poseidon's body had consumed far too much energy. Yadrium sat on a mountain peak in the Bear Mountains. She loyally guarded the place, protecting Poseidon. She had never let her guard down during this period of time. She paid attention to the situation in the surroundings at all times, preventing anyone else from causing trouble after the 2 hall masters of the Serpent God Hall and Heaven Spirit Hall. Jinshin sat on the Zing sword 1,000 meters in the air as a violet light hovered. He focused on comprehending the sword, comprehending the most basic sword techniques he had obtained from the sword spirits. However, he did not forget about Poseidon's safety. He spared a small portion of his soul to observe a radius of 10,000 kilometers so that he could focus on comprehending the sword techniques. Suddenly, Jinshin's face changed. He immediately stopped comprehending the sword techniques and opened his eyes. He stared at the center of the formation without blinking. Afterward, Yadrium seemed to sense something. She stood up, and her clothes fluttered despite the lack of wind. She silently flew over from afar. She was nervous and excited. The center of the formation was still shrouded in darkness. It seemed like another space was hidden there, hiding another world. No one could see what was going on inside. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, a string of explosions rang out. The formation that Yadrium had cast down in a radius of 100 kilometers actually exploded. It produced a great sound, causing the mountains to tremble and crack. Large swathes of mountains collapsed as dust filled the surroundings. The entire region was enveloped in a thick layer of yellow dust. A powerful aura suddenly appeared, and it continued to grow stronger. In just a few breaths, this aura had reached a terrifying level. It shrouded the entire sea region, as if a beast that had been sleeping since Hong Hang's era had begun to awaken. Is that His Majesty Poseidon? Has His Majesty Poseidon been successfully revived? What a powerful aura. This aura makes my soul tremble. It definitely surpasses the great emperor level. Could it really be the sea god? Poseidon has been revived. After slumbering for 1,000,000 years, His Majesty Poseidon, one of the 4 supreme experts of the ancient times, has reappeared in the world once more. The people gathered 10,000 kilometers away were thrown into an uproar. Countless people let out deafening cries. Some were excited, some were emotional, and some were still in disbelief. They refused to believe that Poseidon was actually still alive. Poseidon's presence was still rapidly increasing. She was like a god that had just awakened from her slumber, slowly displaying her might. Very soon, the tremendous presence charged out of the sea realm and condensed in the blue sky. It radiated with a terrifying pressure. The pressure was countless times more powerful than the pressure of the Holy Emperor. As soon as it spread out, all the experts in the world sensed it. The experts of the 4 races gathered in Mercenary City all stared in the direction of the sea realm in shock. The Path Lord of Carnal Desires and the 3 Holy Emperors were stern. As Holy Emperors, they could sense the pressure even more intensely. They deeply understood just how powerful the pressure was. Even with their strength, when they felt this pressure, they couldn't help but shudder deeply. It's the sea goddess. It must be her, the Grand Elder murmured. The Grand Elder of Mercenary City murmured. He was excited. They had gained another Origin Realm expert. This was just far too significant to them. Chapter 1372. It's fantastic that your majesty has been reborn. From today onwards, our sea realm will be completely united. We won't be in a tripartite balance of power anymore. The Holy Emperor of the Poseidon Hall excitedly spoke. The successful revival of the sea goddess held great significance to the sea realm. This was because the sea realm was completely under the control of the Poseidon Hall in ancient times. Back then, there was only the Poseidon Hall in the sea realm. There was no such thing as the Heaven Spirit Hall or the Serpent God Hall now. All the experts of the 100 races were extremely happy about Poseidon's revival. In ancient times, only the sea race did not have any grievances with them, so they did not reject the sea race at all. Poseidon slowly rose into the air from the barren mountains in the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall in the sea realm. She bathed in an extremely dense layer of blue light. Although her appearance was obscured, she gave off a sacred presence that could not be blasphemed. Poseidon had already concealed her presence, but Jinshin and Yadrium still felt a great pressure from her. On a nearby mountain, the Hall Masters of the Heaven's Spirit Hall and Serpent God Hall struggled to raise their heads. They stared blankly at the sea goddess bathed in blue light. Their eyes were filled with despair. "Congratulations, your majesty." Jinshin clasped his hands at Poseidon as he stood on the Zing sword. He felt happy for Poseidon from the bottom of his heart. Yadrium dropped to her knees in the air. She was extremely emotional as she said with a trembling voice, "The Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall greets your majesty." Jinshin, if it weren't for your assistance, I would never have been able to see the light of day again. I can't thank you enough. If you need me in the future, I will definitely assist you with everything I have, Yadrium said with joy. Poseidon said. There was a trace of joy and excitement in her voice. She had waited for this day for far too long. Your Majesty's kindness to me is as heavy as a mountain. You have helped me too much in the past. How can I forget? All of this is what I should do. I, Jianshun, am not an ungrateful person. Jianshun said with a faint smile. He was very straightforward. Yadrium, I've really troubled you over the past few years to rebuild my body, Poseidon gently said to Yadrium. A thin layer of moisture appeared in Yadrium's eyes. She politely said, Your Majesty is half a master to Yadrium. The reason why I am where I am today is all because of Your Majesty. Yadrium is willing to serve Your Majesty until the day I die. Poseidon gently sighed and changed the topic. The crisis of the Tian-Yuan continent is about to descend. This is a crisis that affects the lives of countless people in our world. Our sea realm cannot remain uninvolved. Yadrium, when the robbery comes, lead the experts of the sea race to fend it off. Yes, Your Majesty. Yadrium will definitely do her best, Yadrium firmly replied. Let the two of them go. Every single emperor is extremely important to us right now. We can't afford to lose any more soldiers and kill each other at a time like this, Poseidon added. The eyes of the Hall Masters of the Heaven Spirit Hall and the Serpent God Hall immediately lit up when they heard the Sea Goddess words. Some light returned to their despairing faces as they became filled with hope. But Your Majesty, the Heaven's Spirit Hall, and the Hall Master Dragon God Temple wanted to stop Your Majesty from reconstructing your body. If it weren't for Jinshin's assistance, they probably would have succeeded. Do you really plan on letting them go like this? Yadrium asked. They may have tried to harm me, which is unforgivable, but the matter at hand is to fend off the threat of the world of Forsaken Saints. Let's wait until the threat of the world of Forsaken Saints is dealt with before deciding on their crimes, Jianshun said slowly. Although she had spent all her time in the sea realm, she knew everything that had happened on the Tian-Yuan continent like the back of her hand. I've only just reconstructed my body, so I still haven't recovered to my peak condition. I need to immediately enter seclusion so that I can return to my peak condition as soon as possible so that I can deal with the threat of the world of Forsaken Saints. Jianshun, this divine hall forged from abyssal crystal has accompanied me for countless years. It's the most precious thing I have on me. I have no use for it now, so I'll give it to you as thanks for your assistance. You may not be able to use the divine hall, but it's extremely important to the flame mercenaries because its toughness is incomparable to regular divine halls. Poseidon waved her hand, and the divine hall immediately shrank to the size of a fist before flying before Jinshin. It shone with a faint, dazzling blue light. Jinshin originally wanted to decline, but when he considered the flame mercenaries, he could only accept the divine hall. Poseidon was right. The divine hall was just far too important to the flame mercenaries. It could be used as one of the greatest trump cards of the flame mercenaries. With that, Poseidon left by herself. She wanted to find a place to enter seclusion so that she could return to her peak condition as soon as possible. There was no need for Jianshun to remain any longer after Poseidon's complete reconstruction. He left as a streak of light on the Qing Suwa sword. He moved extremely quickly. Along the way, Jianshun could not help but think of the 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall who had hunted him down in the past. Back then, he had killed his way to the Serpent God Hall all by himself and engaged in a great battle with the 4 divine generals. Unfortunately, he had been stopped by a Hall elder, allowing the 4 divine generals to survive and take revenge. I originally planned on taking your lives once I had enough strength, but now that the Tian-Yuan continent is facing a crisis, I'll settle my grievances with you once the crisis is over, Jinshin murmured. Compared to the Turtle Clan of the past, the current Turtle Clan was worlds apart. Although the current Turtle Clan no longer had several great perfection experts, they were even more prosperous than their most glorious period. This was because the Turtle Clan had given birth to an emperor. Just the existence of the ruler of the Turtle Clan was enough to make the Turtle Clan as great as the 3 divine halls. They shook up the entire sea realm, and no one dared to provoke them. At the same time, countless experts from various clans came to visit them every day. The clansmen of the Turtle Clan seemed to be living in a dreamy paradise. They had never been so happy or so proud before. In the past, they had fought against several large clans for the crystal coins they needed for cultivation and had almost faced extinction. Now, important figures from various large clans would gift them large amounts of crystal coins every few days. They had never even dared to imagine such a life in the past. However, all the people of the Turtle Clan knew that they were only where they were today because of the ruler. As a result, the ruler of the Turtle Clan had become the most respected and worshipped leader in the hearts of all the clansmen. He was loved by all of them. The discussion hall of the Turtle Clan had been renovated as well. It had become resplendent, grand, and majestic. Jianshun sat on the throne boldly in the discussion hall. Below him, the elders of the Turtle Clan sat on the two sides politely. I've gathered you here this time to announce two things. First, I'm about to leave the Sea Realm, Jianshun indifferently said. However, the expressions of the elders all changed as soon as he finished speaking. They all panicked and tried their best to persuade him to stay because the Turtle Clan could not go without a ruler. Chapter 1373. The elders of the Turtle Clan all remained silent. Their hearts were clearly very heavy. Even when they heard that the ruler would increase their strength so that their strength would skyrocket in a short amount of time, none of them became happy. This was because the current glory of the Turtle Clan and their supreme status in the Sea Realm was all because of the ruler. The clansmen of the Turtle Clan had not contributed much. Now, the ruler of the Turtle Clan had become a pillar of support for the clan. His presence in the Turtle Clan was extremely meaningful. All the clansmen of the Turtle Clan could not live without their ruler. Although their ruler had left the Turtle Clan every few days in the past, it was only temporary. However, it was different this time. Jianshun did not explain it, but the elders of the Turtle Clan could sense that the ruler was truly leaving this time. He might not return in the future. Ruler, you can't abandon us. The Turtle Clan can't go without you. If you're not here, we'll lose our souls even if we're powerful. We'll be reduced to walking corpses. An elder of the Turtle Clan knelt down as tears streamed down his face. He begged the ruler, Ruler, don't abandon our Turtle Clan. Ruler, our Turtle Clan cannot live without you. The other elders all knelt down as well. They begged bitterly in an attempt to keep Jianshun. Jianshun sighed inside when he saw this. After a moment of silence, he said, if the Turtle Clan truly wants to become powerful, we need to get used to life without a ruler. Only a Turtle Clan that can remain powerful without a ruler is a true clan that can stand at the very peak. Only then can we endure storms without a ruler. Elders, please come with me to a secret room. Jianshun led the sorrowful Zhang Lai to the largest secret room before taking out various heavenly resources from his space ring to increase their strength. The elders of the Turtle Clan knew that their ruler had already made up his mind. They could not change his mind no matter what they said. They all sat in the secret room dejectedly. They were in low spirits. Jianshun glanced at the elders of the Earth Tortoise tribe, who seemed to have lost their souls. He did not say anything and took out some heaven-piercing flowers from a Xianwang microcosm. The sky-piercing flower emitted a faint fragrance that pervaded the entire secret room. This kind of flower fragrance had the effect of calming one's mind. It could also condense the immortal elemental energy within one's body and suppress one's inner demons. It had the miraculous effect of preventing one's inner demons from interfering during cultivation. This kind of flower was very precious, even in the immortal world. The heaven-piercing flower that he had brought out was even more extraordinary since it grew in the Xianwang microcosm. Its effects were even stronger than ordinary heaven-piercing flowers. As soon as the elders of the Turtle Clan inhaled the fragrance of the heaven-connecting flower, they immediately became alert. Their eyes brimmed with interest, and they immediately became spirited. Their hearts became clear, and their grief from the departure of the ruler of the Turtle Clan vanished in the blink of an eye. Jianshun was secretly amazed when he sensed the reactions of the elders. The effects of the heaven-connecting flower really were powerful. It did not disappoint him. Jianshun pulled out a large gourd from his space ring and poured out some blood. He divided it into over a dozen balls and hovered before the elders. Every single ball was the size of a thumb and gave off powerful pulses of energy. I collected this from the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple. It's the blood of the Emperor, so it'll be extremely beneficial to you. Jianshun explained before using the senses of his soul to control the blood, which flowed into the mouths of the elders. As soon as the blood reached their stomachs, the energy within the blood immediately dispersed. It rampaged through the elders' bodies with a violent presence. The elders had no time to say anything. They immediately focused and closed their eyes to refine the blood. Although it was the blood of the Holy Emperor, there was not enough of it. Moreover, it had been stored for so long, so most of the violent energy within it had been worn away. It was no longer a threat to the elders. The elders refined the blood very quickly. Not only did they feel their strength clearly increase, but their bodies had become even more powerful as well. The greatest effect of the blood was not to increase their strength, but to strengthen their bodies. The elders all rejoiced. The blood of an emperor was something that countless experts in the sea realm coveted, but unfortunately, no emperor was willing to give their blood to others. It was no different from harming their vitality. However, they had actually managed to enjoy it, which made them feel extremely proud. They all looked at Jianshun. They saw that Jianshun had already boiled a pot of water in the secret room to make tea. A small bowl was placed before them, and each bowl was filled with a faint green liquid. It's divine water of the world. An elder recognized the liquid and could not help but cry out. The divine water of the world was a rare treasure in the sea realm. It was extremely precious. Just a single mouthful was enough to turn someone with mediocre talent into a cultivation prodigy. Other than that, it was extremely useful to saint rulers. Not only could it increase their strength, but it could also refine their souls, establishing a foundation for them to break through to the Holy Emperor realm. The divine water of the world can allow you to reach the 15th star without any obstructions. You don't need to worry about being limited by your talent. Drink it, Jianshun calmly said. When he had ventured into the depths of the divine realm, he had collected several hundred kilograms of the divine water in one go. The elders of the turtle clan all excitedly drank the divine water of the world before them before closing their eyes. Intoxication filled their faces. Not only did the divine water not cause them to feel any pain when it refined their souls, but it even made them feel like they were ascending to immortality. It was extremely comfortable. After an unknown amount of time, the wondrous feeling from the divine water slowly receded. The elders of the turtle clan all opened their eyes. They were all overjoyed. Not only had they felt their souls become much stronger after drinking the water, even their strength had increased by an extremely large amount. Although they had not broken through, it had saved them several decades or even over a century of cultivation. What made them overjoyed the most was that it would be 100 times easier for them to break through to the Holy Emperor realm after their souls had been refined. As long as they worked hard, becoming a Holy Emperor would not be difficult at all. At this moment, the faint fragrance of tea wafted over. Jianshun had already poured tea for them. There were over a dozen fist-sized violet peaches on the table. This was a first-grade violet cloud peach. Just a single one could increase one's cultivation by 500 years. 500 years was calculated in the higher world, but it was far more than that for the elders of the turtle clan because their talent was not particularly impressive. Under Jianshun's orders, the elders ate the violet cloud peaches first before downing the entire cup of comprehension tea. Chapter 1374. As soon as the peach entered their stomachs, it immediately turned into tremendous energy. It was pure and powerful, without any impurities. It filled all the elders' bodies in a single moment. The elders of the turtle clan were all shocked. They became rather flustered. The energy was just far too vast and boundless to them. It had completely exceeded the limits of what their bodies could endure. What shocked them even more was that a small peach actually possessed such an unbelievably vast amount of energy. The Emperor's blood and divine water of the world they had just ingested was nothing compared to the violet cloud peach. The elders of the turtle clan tried their best to refine the energy with fear and unease. They were afraid that they would explode from the energy. However, they let out a sigh of relief very soon. Although the energy within the first great violet cloud peach was terrifying, it was not as violent as they had imagined it to be. Instead, it was extremely gentle and did not affect them at all. As they refined the violet cloud peach, the comprehension tea played a huge role as well. It brought their consciousness into a wondrous state. Under this state, the elders discovered that the mysteries of the world that they would normally need a very long time to comprehend were presented before them with such clarity. In a daze, they seemed to understand something and comprehend something. Their comprehension of the mysteries of the world rapidly increased. In the past, Jianshan had used the comprehension tea to force his way into the way of the sword before he could cultivate the immortal sword. This was more than enough to demonstrate just how amazing the comprehension tea was in helping people comprehend the laws of the world. Now that the elders of the Turtle Clan were using the comprehension tea to comprehend the mysteries of the world, which were much weaker than the way of the sword, their rate of improvement was naturally very fast. Jianshan sat before the elders of the Turtle Clan and paid close attention to their conditions. He watched over them, preventing any accidents from happening to them along the way. This was the first time he had used the heavenly resources he had obtained from the Xianhuang microcosm to increase the strength of others. He could test the true effects of the heavenly resources from the elders. The presences of the elders rapidly strengthened as powerful pulses of energy radiated from their bodies. At this moment, their strength was constantly increasing. Suddenly, a faint, white mist appeared from the elders. It became denser and denser, enveloping all of them in the end. Immediately, the energy of the world in the secret room became extremely dense. Then, it slowly dissipated into the surroundings. Jianshan frowned when he saw this. He could already tell that the white mist from the elders was the vast energy from the violet cloud peach. They're actually unable to completely absorb and refine this 500-year-old violet cloud peach. They've actually wasted quite a lot of it, Jianshan thought. He felt rather pained. With this, the increase in strength from the peach would be drastically reduced. Zing, Qing Sa, do you have any methods to deal with the energy scattering? Jianshan asked the sword spirits. Master, this is normal. Not everyone can completely absorb the energy from the violet cloud peach. It depends on the person's talent and strength. In the immortals world, when weaker people consume the violet cloud peaches, there will usually be seniors watching over them. They will use their absolute strength to suppress the energy from scattering or use special methods to trap the energy within their bodies. However, Master does not possess the ability to do that with your current strength, Qing Sua said. Jianshan gave up on the idea. He could only watch as the energy from the violet cloud peaches drifted out from the elders. He was unable to stop it. Jianshan waited there for over half a month before the elders finally finished refining the energy. The moment they opened their eyes, a tremendous presence immediately radiated out. Like a flash flood, it immediately shattered the sturdy room and caused it to collapse. The entire clan was heavily affected. Jianshan stowed the heaven-connecting flower away. With a flash, he left the room and stood on the ground with his hands behind his back. The room he had just been in had been built underground. The ground nearby began to collapse, forming a deep pit very soon. The elders of the Turtle Clan all withdrew their presences and emerged from the ground. They all stood behind Jianshan excitedly. They were overjoyed when they sensed their current strength. They all knelt on the ground and said, "Thank you, ruler, for your grace." At this moment, many clansmen of the Turtle Clan had gathered in the surroundings. They had no idea what had just happened, but they immediately knelt down and bowed when they saw Jianshan standing there. They said with great respect, "We greet the ruler." Jianshan dismissed everyone with a wave of his hand. He glanced past the elders of the Turtle Clan and smiled in satisfaction. He said, "Not bad. You haven't disappointed me. Your strength has all increased by leaps and bounds. You've all reached the 15th star, and 5 of you have even reached the 16th star. There are over 10 holy emperors. With the entire sea realm in perspective, no other peak organization has so many peak experts aside from the three ancient halls. From now on, even without me, the Turtle Clan will be able to hold up the sky with just you. As he said that, Jianshun looked at the sky above him. The sea realm was enveloped by a huge barrier, so the holy emperor of the Turtle Clan did not attract any auspicious clouds. The joy on the elders' faces gradually vanished. They said rather gloomily, "Ruler, I hope you can come visit us often in the future. Everyone in the Turtle Clan will miss you." Jinshin glanced at the bustling clan and said, "The Turtle Clan is now a great clan that stands at the apex of the sea realm. I've finally completed the Grand Elder's final wish. I might visit you from time to time in the future, so I'll leave the Turtle Clan to you. Farewell." Jinshin stepped onto his Ziying sword and left as a streak of light. "Farewell, ruler." Behind them, the elders of the Turtle Clan remained kneeling. Every single one of them was very sad. Their joy from becoming Saint Kings had vanished long ago. Jianshun paid his respects to the Grand Elder's grave before heading to the Poseidon Hall on his sword. The Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall, Yadrium, personally came out to receive him. Behind her were several Hall Elders. They all looked at Jianshun in fear and respect. The most eye-catching person among the elders was a woman in a blue dress. Her beauty was enough to cause the downfall of nations. She was no less beautiful than Yadrium. Jianshun and Yadrium exchanged some pleasantries before looking at the woman. He clasped his hands. Jianshun was hunted down by the experts of the Heaven Spirit Hall and Serpent God Hall back then, but it was all thanks to Elder Yadrium's assistance. The woman was Yadrium, known as the most powerful person below the Emperor in the Sea Realm. She was one of the Hall Elders of the Poseidon Hall. Yadrium bowed to Jianshun and said, "You must be joking, Emperor. You were probably hiding your strength back then. Even without my assistance, they wouldn't have been able to do anything to you. Yadrium was just icing on the cake, so I hope you don't mind." "Jianshun, please come in," Yadrium said and invited Jianshun into the Divine Hall. Yadrium and Jianshun sat across from each other in a resplendent hall. Yadrium personally served them tea and a pile of spiritual fruits. The Sea Realm has not been peaceful in the past few days. Her Majesty's revival has caused a great disturbance in the Sea Realm. The Serpent God Hall and Heaven Spirit Hall have been shaken up. Quite a few people have left and joined our Poseidon Hall. If it were not for the fact that the Heaven Spirit Hall and the Hall Master Dragon God Temple are still alive, the two Divine Halls probably would have disbanded already, said Yadrium. "This is the perfect opportunity for your Majesty to unite the Sea Realm," said Jianshun. Yadrium glanced at Jianshun and shook her head. She gently sighed. "Her Majesty doesn't want me to do that." She said that the three pillars of the Sea Realm might not necessarily be a bad thing. Jianshun said nothing. This was an internal matter of the Sea Realm, so it was not his place to say anything. Yadrium picked up a finger-sized spiritual fruit and ate it. She said, "Jianshun, you've come this time to find your friend, right?" "Correct. That's exactly why I've come." Back in the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, Her Majesty Poseidon messaged me before she left. She said that she had sent my friend to the Poseidon Hall to cultivate. "Hall Master, may I ask if my friend is doing well?" Jianshun asked. "Don't worry. Your friend was brought here by Her Majesty. She has been treated as an esteemed guest in the Poseidon Hall. I've already sent people to deliver a large number of God-tier crystals for her cultivation. She's doing well right now, and her strength has increased extremely rapidly. I'll take you to see her right now." With that, Yadrium stood up and left. She personally led the way for Jianshun because she believed that with Jianshun's current strength, it would not be rude for her to personally lead the way. The Divine Hall was extremely large. Jianshun followed Yadrium through many twists and turns before arriving in a forbidden area. He stood before a tightly shut room. Yadrium opened the door, and a dazzling blue light immediately appeared. An extremely beautiful woman, who seemed to be in her 20s, sat there cultivating. Her hair draped over her shoulders, her face was oval, and her lips were like cherries. Her long eyelashes fluttered, making her look enchanting. She was Huang Wan, who had not been seen for quite some time. However, compared to before, Huang Wan's strength had undergone an overwhelming change. She possessed the water spirit's body, so her talent was astonishing. She cultivated extremely quickly, especially after coming to the sea realm and cultivating the cultivation method Poseidon had imparted to her. Her rate of improvement could only be described as astonishing. She had already reached the 7th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. Although Huang Wan's rate of improvement was nothing compared to Jinshin's, there were very few people in the world who could go from the 1st heavenly layer to the 7th heavenly layer in such a short amount of time. Huang Wan seemed to sense something when the door to the room was opened and roused from her cultivation. The moment she opened her eyes, her gaze froze. Her eyelashes fluttered gently as she stared at Jinshin in a daze. Her face was filled with joy and excitement. Chapter 1375. In the blink of an eye, the surroundings became silent. It was so quiet that even a pin drop could be heard. Only the faint breathing of Jinshin and Huang Wan could be heard. Moreover, Huang Wan's breathing gradually became heavier. There was even the faint sound of her heartbeat. This was caused by her overly emotional state. Suddenly, Huang Wan lunged towards Jinshin and hugged him tightly. She buried her head deep into Jinshin's chest as her body trembled slightly. Huang Wan possessed the water spirit body. Logically speaking, she should have a gentle personality. However, she was the exact opposite. There was a natural chivalrous demeanor hidden in her bones. Her personality was relatively straightforward. In particular, she was magnanimous in certain aspects and lacked the shyness of a girl. Jinshin gently hugged Huang Wan's body. Feeling the bouncy skin on his arms, he could not help but feel a ripple in his heart. Wan, it's been hard on you these past few days. I've left you here to bitterly cultivate and silently endure this lonely time. Jinshin gently sniffed the unique fragrance from Huang Wan's body as he spoke with a face full of self-blame. When he first brought Huang Wan to the Sea Realm, he had left her here to cultivate by herself. He had no choice but to do so. Huang Wan covered Jinshin's mouth with one hand. Her eyes flickered with tears as she affectionately gazed at Jinshin's handsome and resolute face. She gently said, "Chun, Wanner doesn't blame you. Wanner can only blame myself for being useless. I couldn't help you and let you endure this bloody storm alone. Chun, Wanner is currently cultivating with all my strength and doing my best to increase my strength. Once Wanner becomes the Holy Emperor, I'll be able to help you." Jinshin was greatly touched when he heard that. He hugged Huang Wan tightly and lowered his head to kiss her forehead gently. He gently said, "Wan, there's no need to be like this. Our bitter days are over. Now I have enough strength to hold up the sky and protect the people around me from harm." Now that they had met again after so many days, the feelings of longing that had been buried in his heart for a very long time completely erupted at this moment. In the silence, with no one to disturb them, Jinshin and Huang Wan leaned against each other. They spoke softly and revealed their true feelings. The two of them had a lot to talk about. Jinshin told Huang Wan about everything he had experienced in the past few years. He felt like there was no need to hide anything from Huang Wan, so he told her everything without holding anything back. The only thing he hid was the secrets of the Azulite swords and the Immortals' world. It was not necessarily a good thing for Huang Wan to come in contact with these matters too early. After learning that Jinshin could easily kill the Holy Emperor, Huang Wan's initial shock turned into joy. At that moment, Huang Wan felt like she had never felt so relaxed before as she leaned against the person she loved the most. In the past few days, she had worked hard on cultivation. She had turned her longing into motivation, constantly thinking about how she could become stronger. It was for no other reason than to be able to help Jinshin. This was because Huang Wan understood that although Jinshin's strength had increased rapidly in the past few years, his days had not been peaceful. He would often walk on the edge of a blade, all by himself, fighting on the front lines and walking on the line between life and death. It had not been easy at all. Now that she had learned that her lover had become an expert on par with the Holy Emperor, Huang Yuan was overjoyed because she no longer needed to worry about Jinshan's safety. This made her feel much more at ease. Luan, I've specially come today to take you back to the Tian Yuan continent. You've left the Tian Yuan continent for so long, so it's time for you to go back and have a look. It's also time for us to settle the score with Changyang Qingyun, who planted the ancient secret technique on you, Jinshan gently said. A sliver of viciousness immediately flashed through Jinshan's eyes when he mentioned Changyang Qingyun. It was quite shocking. Huang Yuan nestled against Jinshan's chest obediently like a kitten. She gently nodded and said nothing. Afterward, Jinshan took Huang Yuan to see the hall master of the Poseidon Hall, Yadrium. He felt that Yadrium had taken care of Huang Yuan in the past few days, so he took out a second gray violet cloud peach and a first grade violet cloud peach from his space ring. He said, Hall Master, these are some heavenly resources that Jinshan obtained from the space where he was searching for materials for Her Majesty's body. They possess extremely heaven-defying effects. This violet cloud peach with a slightly heavier color is a gift from Jinshan to the Hall Master. I hope the Hall Master can give the other one to Elder Yadrium on behalf of Jinshan as thanks for saving me back then. Yadrium politely said a few words to Jinshan before accepting the two violet cloud peaches. She did not pay too much attention to them. Jinshan could tell with a single glance that Yadrium did not treat the two violet cloud peaches with any importance. He could not help but say, Please don't underestimate these two peaches, Your Majesty. Once I leave, you should go into seclusion as soon as possible and consume the violet cloud peaches. They are so powerful that you will definitely be pleasantly surprised. Really? Yadrium curiously studied the violet cloud peaches in her hand. She glanced at Jinshan in doubt. She did not believe that the violet cloud peaches would be able to bring her any pleasant surprises. This was because she was now a holy emperor. No matter how precious the heavenly resources were, they were basically useless to an expert at her level. Other than the violet cloud peaches, Jinshan also left behind 2 second-grade comprehension tea leaves and some springs of life. He told Yadrium how to consume them before leaving with Huang Yuan. Jinshan stood on the Ziying sword with Huang Yuan in his arms. He shot off into the distance as a streak of light, heading in the direction of the territory of the Serpent God Hall. The Ziying sword moved extremely quickly, so quickly that Jinshan was unable to see the scenery around him. He could only use the senses of his soul. Huang Yuan felt like she had entered a tunnel of space as she stood on the Ziying sword. Her surroundings were a blur as far as her eyes could see. Chun, the Ziying sword sure is fast. I never thought that the 2 swords you forged could be used like this. Huang Yuan sighed emotionally as she studied the Ziying sword below her in surprise. This is only the initial speed. As my strength increases, the speed will increase without limit. Jinshan smiled proudly. As his comprehension of the mysteries of the world could not reach the level of a holy emperor, traveling had always been a problem for him. The appearance of the Ziying sword just happened to make up for this shortcoming. Before long, Jinshan arrived in the territory of the Serpent God Hall. He stopped before a pile of ruins in the end. Chapter 1376. The Kaler tribe had been burned beyond recognition. The ground had been charred black by the flames, and pitch-black corpses could be seen scattered in the surroundings from time to time. From the traces, the Kaler tribe had been wiped out for quite a few days already. The ruins were deathly silent, without any signs of life. The autumn wind was bleak, making the ashes on the ground dance in the wind. It was a rather desolate sight. The Ziying sword flickered with violet light. It was enveloped by a dense layer of violet sword chi. Only a ball of violet light could be seen from the outside. It slowly descended under Jinshan's control, hovering 20 meters above the ground. Jinshan gently hugged Huang Yuan as he stood on the Ziying sword. He slowly scanned the ruins of the Kaler tribe, remaining silent for quite some time. He could still clearly remember how bustling this place had been when he had given Kea the cultivation method of the 8 wastelands. The entire tribe had been bustling with activity, but now the bustling and powerful tribe was nowhere to be seen. It had been reduced to desolate ruins. Sigh. A while later, Jianshan let out a long sigh. He had given Kea the cultivation method of the 8 wastelands to thank Kea for his assistance back then. And he also hoped to find a successor for the 8 wastelands so that Kea could become the second 8 wastelands emperor. But now, I wonder if Kea is still alive? Jianshan thought. He did not feel any sorrow. This was a world where the strong preyed on the weak. A tragedy like the one that had befallen Kea's tribe happened frequently, both in the Sea Realm and on the Tian Yuan continent. Chun, do you have any friends here? Huang Wan glanced around before turning her head to Jianshan. Jianshan said, "This used to be the home of a friend, but I didn't expect this tribe to have been attacked. I don't know if my friend is still alive." After that, Jianshan's divine sense swept out with all his might, and it enveloped an area of 150,000 kilometers as he started to search with all his might. However, he wasn't able to find Kea in the end. "Let's go." Jianshan did not continue to search. He left with Huang Luan and flew towards the Tianyuan continent. Jianshan flew with Huang Luan in the coastal region of the Tianyuan continent. In the end, they arrived at the Fire Sang Kingdom, one of the 8 great kingdoms. They directly entered the royal palace. The Huasong Kingdom was no weaker than the Qin Empire. It also had 4 saint kings, and they were the 4 imperial protector of the Huasong Kingdom. Jianshan's sudden arrival caused a huge commotion in the royal palace. The king and the 4 imperial protector personally came out to receive him. Normally, they acted in fear and trepidation before Jianshan. They spoke politely, not even daring to breathe too loudly. Jianshan directly stated his intentions. He wanted to use the space gate of the Huasong Kingdom to return to Flame City. Although he had already learned the azulate swords and could fly very quickly, the coastal region was several million kilometers away from Flame City. Using a space gate would obviously be much faster than flying on a sword. The king and the 4 imperial protector dared not disobey Jianshan's request. They even personally opened the space gate for Jianshan and politely sent Jianshan off. The king and the 4 imperial protector immediately let out a sigh of relief when Jianshan and Huang Luan vanished through the space gate. Jianshan did not give off any presents, but the 5 of them felt a mountainous pressure when they stood before Jianshan. This was psychological pressure. Imperial protector, is Jianshan really the Holy Emperor? If he's the Holy Emperor, why does he need to use a space gate? The king wiped the sweat off his forehead as he asked the 4 imperial protector. The 4 imperial protector were unable to answer. Only a while later did one of them answer with certainty. "I have an old friend who cultivates in the volcanoes of the western extremities all year round. I've received concrete news from him that Jianshan has indeed become a holy emperor. Coupled with the 2 swords nurtured by the world, the Holy Emperor is no longer Jianshan's opponent. Back then, Jianshan defeated the 2 Holy Emperors of the magical beasts in a single move. The Holy Emperor of the humans, the Path Lord of carnal desires, directly fled. The current Jianshan is no longer a regular Holy Emperor. As for why he wants to use a space gate to return to Flame City, I have no idea either." The king of the Fire Mulberry Kingdom gasped. He had defeated 2 saint emperors in a single move. He was so shocked that his heart had almost jumped out of his chest. However, he soon thought about how he had just come into close contact with such a supreme expert, which made him excited. He immediately spread the news that the Holy Emperor Jianshan has just arrived at the imperial palace of our kingdom. The king immediately ordered people to spread the news. Jianshan had basically become the greatest holy emperor on the Tian Yuan continent now. It was a great honor for the kingdom to have someone like that visit. It could increase their status and prestige. 20 kilometers away from Raging Flame City, the space there began to distort violently. In the end, it cracked open and formed a multicolored spatial door. After Jianshan and Huang Luan stepped through the space gate, it began to slowly vanish as well. Very soon, everything returned to normal. Jianshan hovered 10 meters above the ground with his azulate swords on his back as he gazed at the city in the distance. The walls of Flame City before him were completely black, like a huge beast that crouched there silently. It gave off a sense of dominance and dignity. Above the city, a golden barrier spread out, enveloping the entire city. Only by passing through the city walls could one enter. Jinshin's eyes landed on the golden barrier, and his eyes suddenly narrowed. His gaze sharpened in a single moment, like two swords being unsheathed. They shone with resplendent light. This was because the ripples of energy from the golden barrier actually shocked him. The energy was just too powerful, having completely surpassed the Holy Emperors. An Origin Realm expert? Aside from Protector Shui and Xiao Ling of the Arctic Ice Goddess Hall, who else has reached such a level of cultivation on the Tianyuan continent? And why would they cast down such a powerful barrier to protect the city? Jinshin was filled with doubt. He then directly flew toward the city with Huang Luan in his arms. At this moment, in the manner of Raging Flame City, Bai Lian and Sima Yu were sitting around a table. They were personally teaching a chubby little boy who looked to be only 3 or 4 years old how to write. The little boy was very cute. He wore a golden robe and was bald. His entire body was golden, and there was a faint golden light flowing under his skin. He looked like a person made of gold. His big eyes were incomparably bright, flashing with an innocent light. He was practicing calligraphy with a serious expression. Xiao Jin, tell me, what is this word? Yu held a piece of paper in her hand as she smiled at the boy. Heavens, the little boy replied in a childish voice, sounding a little childish. What about this? Bai Lian also held a piece of paper with words on it as she asked the boy. Emperor, the boy answered accurately. Xiao Jin sure is smart. He basically has a photographic memory. Before long, he'll be able to learn everything, Bai Lian giggled. Her gaze toward the boy was filled with love. At this moment, Bai Hai walked in from outside. He pulled Xiao Jin outside and chuckled. Xiao Jin, you'll have plenty of time to learn how to write in the future. Come with me first. I'll teach you a new ability, like this barrier. Yep, it's indeed very powerful, but there are still many flaws. For example, the protective barrier of Mercenary City has completely seeped its energy into the ground, making it as tough as steel. Come with me. I'll teach you a new use for energy. The boy did not resist. He obediently allowed Bai Hai to take him outside. Only Yu and Bai Lian grumbled from behind. What do you know? You'll have plenty of time after you learn how to read. Right now, the most important matter is to make Flame City impregnable. At the same time, Xiao Jin can become more familiar with the use of energy, Bai Hai said righteously. He ignored the two girls' objections and left with Xiao Jin. Chapter 1377. Xiao Jin, come back. Where have you been? Bai Hai was alarmed as he called out and chased after Xiao Jin. Xiao Jin had been with them for some time now and had always been extremely obedient. He listened to everything they said, just like an obedient child. This was the first time he had seen him act so abnormally, which made Bai Hai rather uneasy. After spending some time with Xiao Jin, Bai Hai had completely believed Xiao Jin's strength. Even though he was shocked and in disbelief that Xiao Jin was stronger than the Holy Emperor, he slowly began to accept it as time passed. Bai Hai's attitude towards Xiao Jin immediately underwent a drastic change after learning of Xiao Jin's strength. Xiao Jin was terrifyingly powerful, but he was still a child. In fact, he knew nothing like a newborn baby. As a result, Bai Hai raised Xiao Jin like his own grandson, passing on everything he knew and his comprehension of battle to Xiao Jin without holding anything back. In the end, Xiao Jin understood the many wondrous uses of energy and even the mysteries of the world. Bai Hai had taught Xiao Jin how to cast down the faint golden barrier around Flame City. Bai Hai had been overjoyed for quite some time now that an expert who had surpassed the Holy Emperor had suddenly appeared in Flame City. However, at the same time, Bai Hai felt rather afraid and worried. He did not know where Xiao Jin had come from or whether he would suddenly leave Flame City at a certain point in time. As a result, Bai Hai was extremely worried about Xiao Jin's abnormal state right now. He was afraid that Xiao Jin would never return and would leave Flame City forever. Xiao Jin. Sima Yu and Bai Lian's cries of alarm came from behind. They quickly ran out of the Great Hall as well. They looked anxiously at Little Golden, who had already disappeared, and immediately chased after her. On the streets of raging Flame City, Jianshun held Huang Wan's hand as they walked. Although they were walking, they weren't slow at all. With each step, they crossed over 100 meters. This was a kind of use of spatial force. From time to time, Jianshun would raise his head to look at the faint golden barrier in the sky. His expression became rather stern as he constantly pondered. Just who else in this world possessed such terrifying strength and was connected to Flame City? Could it be Rui Jin and the others? Jianshun thought to himself. Among all the experts he knew, only the golden divine dragon Rui Jin could use this kind of energy. However, the energy Rui Jin used contained pure and rich dragon qi, which was obviously not present in this barrier. The streets of raging Flame City were bustling with people coming and going. Jianshun and Huang Luan traveled along the main road, heading straight for the city lord's mansion. No one noticed them along the way. At this moment, a golden streak of light appeared with a flash. It arrived before Jianshun with unbelievable speed. Jianshun came to a halt. He stared at the person who had suddenly blocked his path with interest. Chaotic force surged within him as he prepared to take action at any time. It was a bald boy who was less than a meter tall and had a chubby face. He wore golden clothes. The boy stared at Jianshun with his large, innocent eyes that flickered with curiosity. There was some confusion in his eyes. This was because the boy could sense an extremely intimate presence from Jianshun. It was much denser than the presence he sensed from Bai Lian, Yu Yu, and Bai Hai. It was as if the presence had fused with his bloodline. At the same time, the presence enveloped him with warmth, making him feel extremely comfortable. At that moment, the boy felt like he had found the most important thing in his life as he stood before Jianshun. He did not need to touch Jianshun too much, nor did he need to communicate with him. He had already begun to treat Jianshun as someone he could rely on. Jianshun was not as relaxed as Xiao Jin when he stood before him. His face was extremely stern, and some disbelief even filled his eyes. This was because he could only see the boy before him with his eyes. He was unable to discover his existence with the senses of his soul. When he swept past the boy, there was nothing in front of him. He could not find the boy at all. The origin realm. Jianshun cried out inside. Although he was unable to tell the boy's exact strength, he knew that the boy was definitely an origin realm expert. He's completely golden, which matches the color of the barrier around Flame City. Was the barrier cast down by the boy? Jianshun thought inside. He found this to be very unbelievable. However, what confused him even more was where the boy had come from. Why had he appeared in Flame City? Huang Wan had obviously discovered Xiao Jin as well. Ever since she had entered the city, she had been focused on the scenery around her. She had been admiring the bustling city the entire time, so she had not discovered how Xiao Jin had arrived. She obviously had no idea how powerful he was. She arrived before Xiao Jin with a smile and bent down to pinch his chubby cheeks. She said, "Little brother, what's your name? Where do you live? Don't run around on the streets by yourself." Huang Wan's actions made Jianshun jump in fright. This was an origin realm expert. How could he be disrespected like this? However, to his surprise, the boy did not react in an abnormal manner. Instead, he looked at Huang Wan curiously. He did not reject her, allowing her to pinch his cheeks. I'm Xiao Jin," the boy said in a childish voice. He seemed rather dumb. Jianshun pulled Huang Wan back in a hurry. He stared at Xiao Jin strangely. Was this person really an origin realm expert? "Xiao Jin, don't run. Come back. Come to Grandpa." At this moment, a rather anxious voice rang out from afar. Bai Hai flew over from the direction of the city lord's estate with lightning speed. He then grabbed Xiao Jin's hand tightly and refused to let go, as if he was afraid that Xiao Jin would suddenly run away. "Great-grandfather!" Jianshun called out in surprise. He became even more confused when he saw how close the boy was to Bai Hai. Bai Hai was completely focused on Xiao Jin, so he did not notice Jianshun standing before him. Bai Hai was stunned by Jianshun's call of great-grandfather. Only then did he raise his head to look at Jianshun. He immediately became excited, letting go of Xiao Jin and grabbing Jianshun's shoulders tightly. He laughed aloud. "My good grandson, you've finally returned. Great-grandfather, this." Jianshun pointed at Xiao Jin and asked in doubt, Baihai was in a great mood with Jinshan's return. He chuckled aloud and said, "Great-grandson, let's return to the city lord's estate. I'll tell you everything in detail." Yu, Bai Lian, Baihai, Jinshan, Huangwan, and Dugufeng gathered in the city lord's estate to celebrate the return of Jinshan and Huangwan. The table was filled with various delicacies, but none of them had any appetite. They all asked Jinshan whether the rumors about the Tianyuan continent were true. That's right. The two holy emperors of the magical beasts have indeed been heavily injured by me. My cultivation level may not be high enough, but there's probably no one in the holy emperor realm who's my opponent in a real battle. Jinshan told them the truth. He did not hide anything. Announcing his strength would only benefit his family. At the same time, it would make the people around him feel at ease. They would not have to worry about their safety all the time. Everyone was overjoyed after receiving Jinshan's confirmation. Although there had been rumors, they were still rumors after all. Sometimes they could not be true. Only by personally confirming it would they feel at ease. At this moment, Xiao Jin ran in from outside. He sprawled himself on the chair and began wolfing down the food on the table. His innocent eyes would glance at Jinshan from time to time. Jinshan asked everyone about Xiao Jin's identity, but unfortunately, no one could answer him. Xiao Jin's identity was a mystery to them. At this moment, Yu hesitated before saying, "Jinshan, my master said that Xiao Jin is a spirit born from the world. He came from the tungsten alloy mine." "What? Little gold is an innate spirit body derived from the tungsten alloy lode?" Baihai was shocked, his face full of disbelief. Chapter 1378. Sima Yu smiled apologetically, saying, "Little sister Bai Lian, great-grandfather, please forgive you for hiding this from you. This is because this matter is too shocking. Even when I found out about Little Golden's true identity from my master, I felt like it was a fantasy story. It was hard to accept. That is why it did not tell you about Little Golden's true identity immediately." Jinshan could not help but think of the metallic spirit's origin energy buried deep within the tungsten alloy mine after hearing Yu's explanation. The sword spirits had discovered the existence of the metallic spirit long ago, but it had not matured back then, and it was hidden deep within the tough tungsten alloy mine. Even the Grand Elder of Mercenary City, Tianjian, was unable to pierce through that location, so they could only leave it there in the end. However, he had never thought that the metallic spirit's origin energy would have completely matured when he returned to Flame City. At the same time, it had undergone the heavenly tribulation and taken human form, possessing extremely great strength. For a moment, Jinshan's gaze toward Xiao Jin became rather strange after learning of his identity. He could obviously see Xiao Jin's naive side. He was just like a child who had not grown up yet. Jinshan found it rather hard to believe that such a harmless and powerless little boy was actually an origin realm expert. He had heard from the sword spirits just how impressive the metallic spirit's origin energy was and how limitless its future was. However, he had not expected Xiao Jin to be an origin realm expert as soon as he was born. After all, even in ancient times, only 5 origin realm experts had appeared. If the person from the Ice Goddess Hall was not included, there were only the humans, the sea race, the magical beasts, and the 100 races in the world. This was more than enough to demonstrate just how rare origin realm experts were. Even now, there were only 2 or 3 origin realm experts on the Tianyuan continent. However, what confused Jinshan even more was why Xiao Jin had appeared in Flame City as soon as he had taken human form. He could clearly sense from Xiao Jin's gaze that Xiao Jin was very reliant on him. He did not reject Bai Lian and the others, which puzzled him no matter how hard he thought about it. The Tianyuan continent is about to face a crisis. The world of Forsaken Saints is about to invade our world. We need great strength at such a crucial time, so Xiao Jin's sudden appearance is just far too important for us. However, Xiao Jin seems to lack a lot of knowledge right now, so we need to teach him a lot in the next few days, especially when it comes to battle, said Jinshan. Soon after, everyone's topic shifted from Xiao Jin to other topics. Brother Ming Dong is currently cultivating in a secret room specially prepared for him in Flame City. Brother Ming Dong has become a saint ruler long ago, but who knows what level of cultivation he has reached. However, Brother Ming Dong's talent is even greater than great-grandfather Bai Hai's. Even great-grandfather Bai Hai sighed in amazement at his rate of cultivation. With that, Jianshun scanned the area with the senses of his soul. As expected, he found Ming Dong cultivating in a secret room 1,000 meters underground. Ming Dong's strength had indeed improved extremely quickly compared to before. He had reached the 8th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler now. Jianshun then looked at the silent Dugu Feng. Dugu Feng was one of the earliest people to follow him. He had become friends with Ming Dong in a miniature world during the tournament in Mercenary City. Dugu Feng's strength was not as great as Ming Dong's in the miniature world of Mercenary City, but the difference between them was not great. Now, Ming Dong had become an 8th heavenly layer Saint Ruler, while Dugu Feng remained a Heaven Saint Master. Dugu Feng is a good child. While he was the disciplinary elder of the Flame Mercenaries, he made great contributions to the Flame Mercenaries, even delaying his own cultivation time. Dugu Feng's contributions to the stability of the Flame Mercenaries cannot go unnoticed, Bai Hai said from one side, as he looked at Dugu Feng with a gaze filled with love. Yeah, I don't want Dugu Feng to become too exhausted from the matters of the Flame Mercenaries and delay his own cultivation. I've tried to persuade Dugu Feng to return to the clan and cultivate properly, but Dugu Feng didn't stay for long before coming back, Bai Lian chimed in as well. Dugu Feng had indeed contributed greatly to the development of Flame City in the past few years. My talent is nowhere near as great as Ming Dong's. I won't be able to catch up to you, no matter how much I cultivate. If that's the case, I might as well do some meaningful things, Dugu Feng said emotionlessly. Dugu Feng said expressionlessly. It was as if a smile would never appear on his resolute face. Dugu Feng, you don't have to worry about cultivation. I have a way for you to undergo a complete transformation and become a holy emperor in the shortest amount of time possible. You will definitely become a holy emperor in the future. Jianshun sternly said to Dugu Feng. He did not have a lot of friends that he truly trusted, and Dugu Feng happened to be one of them. Afterward, Jianshun asked about the whereabouts of Little Fatty and the others. Little Fatty, Senior, and Yunzheng, Wang Yifeng, and the others haven't returned ever since they went to the Tianyuan continent to train. We've only received news about them from time to time. They seem to be doing quite well in the past few years, said Bai Lian. Lian pass down my orders. Get the people of the Flame Mercenaries scattered across the Tianyuan continent to search for Little Fatty and the others as soon as possible so that they can return to Flame City as soon as possible, Jianshun said. Now that the crisis was imminent, he needed to use all the resources on hand to increase the strength of the people around him. 3 days later, Bai Lian, Yu, Dugu Feng, Bai Hai, Huang Wan, and Ming Dong were taken to the mountain range that produced the tungsten alloy by Jianshun. However, the vast mountain range had become ordinary now. It was no longer as famous as it used to be. Ever since something had happened to the metallic spirit, it had absorbed all the metallic essence in the mountain range, reducing the tough tungsten alloy to extremely ordinary rock. Jianshun, why have you brought us here? Ming Dong looked around and asked in confusion. He had just emerged from seclusion. This place is spacious enough. It's a good place. I plan on letting all of you break through here, said Jianshun. Letting all of us break through? Jianshun, have you obtained some heaven-defying heavenly resource? Ming Dong's eyes lit up as he immediately became interested. Jianshun nodded. That's right. I have indeed obtained an extremely heaven-defying heavenly resource. It can allow your strength to skyrocket. Ming Dong, you're already a 7th heavenly layer Saint Ruler, and your talent is pretty good. You can use this opportunity to break through and become a holy emperor. You might even have the slightest chance of directly becoming a Saint Emperor. What? Ming Dong was shocked. He stared at Jianshun in disbelief. Even Yu, Huang Wan, Bai Hai, and Dugu Feng revealed the same expression. Jianshun did not waste any more time and immediately began to move. He first used the blood of the Halm Master Dragon God Temple to strengthen their bodies before using the holy water of the Spirit Sea to change their constitutions. Finally, he took out the heaven-connecting flowers, violet cloud peaches, and comprehension tea leaves from the artifact space to increase their strength. Chapter 1379. Ming Dong, Bai Hai, and Huang Wan all possessed the strength of saint rulers, and they had already reached the peak of that level of cultivation. As a result, they refined the Halm Master Dragon God Temple's blood and holy water faster than the others, so they woke up first. Soon afterwards, Yu Yu, who had just broken through to Saint Ruler, also refined the Saint Emperor's blood and the holy water of the Spirit Sea. Her body had become much stronger after being refined by the Hall Master of the Serpent God Hall. Even her talent for cultivation and soul had undergone a complete transformation after being refined by the holy water of the Spirit Sea. She had undergone a major metamorphosis. Jinshin, what blood is this? It actually contains such great energy. With my current strength, refining this fist-sized blob of blood is still so difficult for me. Ming Dong was shocked. Afterward, he looked at the heaven-connecting flowers and the pot of comprehension tea that had already been prepared. The fragrance of the tea wafted through the air. He was deeply shocked by how Jinshin could take out so many treasures. I really don't know what dangerous places Jinshin went to during the years I was in seclusion to obtain so many heaven-defying heavenly resources, Ming Dong thought. Ming Dong thought to himself. Although he didn't recognize the heaven-connecting flower or comprehension tea, he could tell that they were extraordinary just from their fragrance. This is the blood of the Holy Emperor. I heavily injured a Holy Emperor in the Sea Realm not long ago, so I collected some of his blood along the way. The Holy Emperor was a deep-sea serpent dragon, so his blood will be very useful to you, said Ming Dong. Afterwards, he placed the 5th grade violet cloud peach in the tea he had prepared before the 3 of them. He said, "These are violet cloud peaches. A single one can increase your strength by over 2,000 years. This comprehension tea can help you comprehend the mysteries of the world. Drink them all." The blood of the Holy Emperor had already shocked Ming Dong, but when he heard about the almost heaven-defying effects of the violet cloud peach and comprehension tea, he immediately became dumbfounded. Even Bai Hai and Yu Yu were the same. A peach that could increase their strength by over 2,000 years, and a cup of tea that could help them comprehend the mysteries of the world. They had never even heard of such wondrous things before, let alone seen them. Ming Dong, Bai Hai, and Yu Yu followed Jinshin's instructions rather numbly and consumed the violet cloud peach and comprehension tea together. As soon as the peach reached their stomachs, it turned into a tremendous energy that filled their limbs. The 3 of them immediately began to refine the energy as hard as they could. Jinshin looked at Bai Lian and Dugu Feng. Bai Lian was still an Earth Saint Master, while Dugu Feng was a Heaven Saint Master. The difference between them and Yu Yu and the other 2 was extremely great. Even though he had given them less blood from the Holy Emperor, it was still extremely difficult to refine. Both of their expressions were very solemn, occasionally showing signs of pain. Their bodies were trembling slightly, and it was obvious that they were suffering a great deal of pain. Jinshan paid close attention to the 2 of them. He was already prepared to send them into the artifact space as soon as something went wrong. He wanted to prevent any accidents from happening to them while refining the Holy Emperor's blood. An hour later, Dugu Feng finally woke up. He had benefited tremendously from refining the Holy Emperor's blood. Not only had his body become much more powerful, but even his strength had increased from the 2nd cycle to the 4th cycle. Jinshin did not let Dugu Feng rest. He immediately fed him the violet cloud peach and comprehension tea so that he could undergo the final increase in strength. 2 hours later, Bai Lian finally woke up as well. Her face was rather pale, and she was exhausted. She was the weakest, only an Earth Saint Master, so refining the Holy Emperor's blood was extremely difficult. However, the benefits were unquestionable. She had gone from the 3rd cycle to the peak of the 6th cycle. Fortunately, the violent energy in the Holy Emperor's blood had been completely worn away, or Bai Lian would not have been able to refine it at all. Just consuming a single droplet of the Holy Emperor's blood would have been enough to kill her, let alone refine it. A single droplet of blood from a few powerful immortals could kill a Holy Emperor. Similarly, a droplet of blood from a Holy Emperor could easily kill an Earth Saint Master. Very soon, Balian consumed the Violet Cloud Peach and Comprehension Tea as well. She entered a deep state of cultivation. Although the 5th grade Violet Cloud Peach possessed a tremendous amount of energy that did not match its size, absorbing all of it was not something an ordinary person could do. It depended on the person's talent and strength. Jianshan cultivated the chaotic body, so he required an extremely tremendous amount of energy. At the same time, he could refine energy at an incomparable rate, so he could completely absorb a 5th grade Violet Cloud Peach. However, this was not the case for the people before him. Even the extremely talented Ming Dong and you could only absorb a portion of the energy within the peach. At this moment, a white mist condensed from pure energy drifted out from their bodies before dispersing into the surroundings. The white mist that was formed by the Yuan Qi was very thick and had already covered their figures. Looking from afar, their bodies seemed to be wrapped in a giant white cocoon. Jianshan was helpless against this situation. He could only watch helplessly because he did not possess the strength to seal off the tremendous amount of energy. He had already learned from the sword spirits that sealing off the energy within the Violet Cloud Peach required the methods of immortals. As the energy from the Violet Cloud Peach drifted into the surroundings, the energy of the world and the mountain range became denser. It continued to rise at all times. Jianshan sat on a mountain nearby with his twin swords on his back. He used the senses of his soul to observe the surroundings as he watched over them while comprehending the sword. He had yet to completely comprehend the sword techniques that the sword spirits had taught him. A few days later, 3 tremendous presences suddenly appeared. Ming Dong, Huang Wan, and Bai Hai all broke through to Holy Emperor. They caused rainbow clouds to envelop the sky, covering a radius of several 100,000 kilometers. Moreover, the rainbow clouds were stacked on top of one another. They shone with resplendent rainbow light, illuminating the entire world. The entire region was dyed in rainbow colors. Jianshan stood up. With a wave of his hand, a gentle energy immediately surged over, wrapping around Dugu Feng and Bailian. He sent them to another location so that they would not be disturbed by the 3 of them breaking through. The rainbow clouds in the sky caused a great commotion on the Tianyuan continent. The appearance of a holy emperor was still an extremely important matter to the various experts of the continent. After all, holy emperors were rare right now, so the value of a holy emperor was even more apparent. Another person has become a holy emperor. Fantastic. We just happen to need the power of a holy emperor right now. Many holy emperors in Mercenary City looked in the direction of Flame City. No, the rainbow clouds seem to be stacked on top of one another. Are there 3 holy emperors at the same time? Songxiong, the holy emperor of the Peng clan, was the first to discover the abnormality of the rainbow clouds. He was surprised. That's right. There are indeed 3 layers of rainbow clouds stacked on top of one another. Although we can't see the clouds because we're too far away, I can clearly sense them, said a great perfection expert. Surprise filled his face. It was very rare for 3 people to become holy emperors at the same time. That seems to be the direction of Flame City. Has a saint ruler of the flame mercenaries broken through? Not necessarily. There's a hermit clan and an ancient clan in that direction as well. It might be one of them. Many holy emperors discussed the matter in Mercenary City. 3 holy emperors had appeared on the Tianyuan continent all of a sudden. This was no small matter, so no one was able to remain calm. However, they only discussed it casually. This matter was not enough to attract their attention, unless a holy emperor broke through. Ming Dong, Bai Hai, and Huang Wan had all become Saint Kings with the help of the Violet Cloud Peaches and Comprehension Tea. The presences from the 3 of them were as vast as the ocean, sweeping through the surroundings and causing violent winds to kick up. Even the rainbow clouds in the sky were affected, causing them to churn. Chapter 1380. At this moment, another tremendous presence erupted. For presences appeared at the same time, causing the energy in the surroundings to become chaotic. The wild winds in the surroundings became even more ferocious. Yu had also broken through to the Saint King realm and became a Saint Emperor. She once again summoned the rainbow auspicious clouds, causing the rainbow auspicious clouds in the sky to increase from 3 to 4. With the 4 rainbow clouds stacked on top of each other, the range of the rainbow clouds had reached an unprecedented level. It had almost enveloped 1,000,000 kilometers. Even in Mercenary City, it was possible to see multicolored light blossoming on the horizon. The Saint Kings of the 4 races gathered in Mercenary City all looked in the direction of the city. All of their faces were filled with surprise. 3 people becoming Holy Emperor at the same time was already unprecedented on the Tian Yuan continent. It was extremely rare even during the glorious ancient times, let alone now that 4 people had become Holy Emperor at the same time. Moreover, all 4 of them were in the same location, so they could not help but feel surprised. Good, fantastic. Another person has become a Holy Emperor. Our Tian Yuan continent has become even more powerful. The younger generation really will surpass us in time. A Holy Emperor at great perfection praised. Has breaking through to Holy Emperor become easier than before? A few people present began to think about the 4 Holy Emperors breaking through at the same time. Yu, who had just broken through to Holy Emperor, was clearly different from the others in the mountain range of the Flame Mercenaries. White light flickered around her. It was bright and gentle, just like the moonlight at night. Especially behind Yu, there was an endless amount of white light gathering, finally condensing into a huge full moon. It was incomparably bright and soft, enveloping the entire heaven and earth, adding a unique color to this world that was occupied by the rainbow clouds. Jianqin stared at Yu from afar. He knew that Yu's cultivation method was extremely extraordinary. It was much more powerful than the cultivation methods of Holy Emperor or even Saint-tier cultivation methods. As a result, a phenomenon appeared as soon as she broke through to Holy Emperor. Afterward, Dugufeng and Bailian broke through as well, reaching Saint Ruler. At the same time, the energy from the violet cloud peaches had yet to disperse, allowing their strength to break through the shackles like a hot knife through butter. They continued to advance. High up in the sky, 2 tricolored auspicious clouds silently took shape, covering an area of 100,000 kilometers. However, as the 4 tricolored auspicious clouds occupied the entire space, the appearance of the 2 tricolored auspicious clouds was directly overlooked by everyone. Many people did not even discover the existence of the 2 tricolored auspicious clouds. A few figures appeared in the surroundings of the mountain range one after another. Not only did the saint rulers of the nearby hermit clans and ancient clans draw over, but there were even quite a few heaven saint masters who had come. It's unbelievable. The 4 Holy Emperor experts are actually all in the depths of the mountain range. I never thought that there would be 4 hermit experts hidden here. A saint ruler from a hermit clan softly cried out. He found it unbelievable. Sure, let's not cause too much of a disturbance, just in case we disturb the 4 seniors who are breaking through. Let's go and take a look at the 4 seniors' appearances. The saint rulers and heaven saint masters from various places began to carefully make their way to the depths of the mountain range. They all wanted to personally witness the 4 Holy Emperor appearances. Finally, a few people arrived 10 kilometers away. They observed the people who had just broken through as Holy Emperor from very far away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's actually 6 people cultivating there, but they're all shrouded by a layer of white mist, so I can't see their faces. There's also a person guarding them nearby. That person sure is strange. He's actually carrying 2 swords on his back. That's not white mist. It's formed from extremely pure yuan qi of heaven and earth. Heavens, am I seeing things? Such pure yuan qi of heaven and earth is actually drifting out from their bodies. No wonder I feel that the yuan qi of heaven and earth in this mountain range is many times denser than before, that doesn't seem like energy of the world. It's countless times denser and purer than the energy of the world we know. Who are they? The saint rulers and heaven's saint masters all discussed among themselves. Shock filled their faces. All of them spoke in a very proper tone, even communicating through communication techniques. They were afraid of disturbing the people cultivating. Everyone, I am the captain of the flame mercenaries, Jianshun. My friends are cultivating here, so I hope that you won't approach them and disturb them. Otherwise, I can only offend Jianshun. Jianshun sent a message to all of them at the same time. What? The captain of the flame mercenaries. I didn't hear wrong, did I? I actually heard the raging flame mercenaries captain's voice transmission. It's the person with the 2 swords on his back. I never thought that he would actually be the renowned Holy Emperor Jianshun. The Holy Emperor Jianshun is personally guarding them while they cultivate. Everyone, back away. Don't get too close. I've actually witnessed the supreme bearing of the Holy Emperor Jianshun. Am I dreaming? When Jianshun announced his identity, the people in the surroundings immediately became shocked. They either became extremely excited or fearful. Their gazes toward Jianshun were either filled with fear or abnormal excitement. Jianshun's name had already spread across the entire Tianyuan continent. Not only was he the 4th Holy Emperor to appear on the Tianyuan continent, but he was also an extremely powerful Holy Emperor. He had defeated 2 Holy Emperors of the Beast God continent in a single strike. Now, Jianshun had become a legendary figure on the Tianyuan continent. His fame was so great that he was comparable to Mo Tanyun, the greatest human expert of the ancient times. He was even more famous than Mo Tianyun because he had cultivated for less than 100 years. An existence who had become a holy emperor before the age of 100 had never appeared even during the glorious ancient times. After learning Jianshun's identity, all the people who had come to watch became extremely obedient. They all retreated to several dozen kilometers away and watched from afar. They did not even dare to breathe too loudly, as if they were afraid of disturbing the people who were cultivating. As time went on, more and more people appeared. Although no holy emperor had been drawn over, there were quite a few saint rulers and heaven saint masters. However, the people who had come later had all been warned by the people who had come earlier not to approach the place, so they took the initiative to guard the place. There were people from the flame, mercenaries among them. As soon as they heard that their captain, Jianshun, had returned, all of them became filled with pride. Ming Dong and the others only completed their breakthroughs after over a dozen days. After the breakthrough, their strength had undergone an overwhelming change, especially Ming Dong. He was the strongest, having reached the 8th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. Next were Huang Wan and Yu Yu, who had both reached the 7th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. Bai Hai, who had been a saint ruler for many years, had fallen behind, reaching the 6th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. Other than the 4 of them, De Gufeng had also become a Holy Emperor. He had reached the 4th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. Only Bai Lian was the weakest, but even with that being the case, she had reached the peak of the 9th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. She was not far away from becoming a Holy Emperor. After rousing, all of them were filled with excitement, especially Ming Dong. He had reached the 8th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor in a single stroke, becoming the strongest of them all. This comprehension tea is just too wondrous. It can actually allow me to comprehend the mysteries of the world so easily. It's thousands of times easier than comprehending the mysteries of the world in the depths of Mercenary City, Ming Dong excitedly said. Jianshun faintly smiled as well. He felt happy for their increase in strength. A 5th grade violet cloud peach was enough for a mortal to become an immortal in 100 days, becoming an existence that surpassed the Holy Emperor. This was because violet cloud peaches were priceless even in the immortals world. Ming Dong and the others were only limited by their strength and talent, so they were unable to absorb all the energy within the peaches, wasting a lot of it. As a result, the fruit only allowed them to reach the level of the Holy Emperor. A portion of the people gathered in the surroundings finally gathered the courage to approach. They sincerely offered their congratulations, but when they discovered that the people who had become Holy Emperor were actually members of the upper echelon of the Flame Mercenaries, they were still so shocked that their mouths hung agape. Balian, in particular, had only been an Earth Saint Master before, but she had become a 9th Heavenly Layer Saint Ruler in just a few weeks. She was even more powerful than them, which stunned all the people who had come to congratulate her. They struggled to accept this. Chapter 1381. After returning to Flame City, the news that Bai Lian, Yu Yu, and Bai Hai had all become saint rulers and holy emperors spread like wildfire, causing a huge uproar in the Flame Mercenaries. In particular, the people of the mercenaries all stopped what they were doing and gathered in groups of 3 to 5 to drink and celebrate the increase in their strength. Although the Flame Mercenaries had once been a powerful organization that even the 10 Protector clans feared, the organization was completely supported by their captain, Jianshun, and the 3 magical beasts. Without them, the Flame Mercenaries would only be able to produce a few saint rulers. However, it was different now. Huang Wan, Yu Bai Hai, Ming Dong, and Du Gufeng had all become holy emperors. Even Huang Wan was a 9th Heavenly Layer Saint Ruler. With such a powerful lineup, they were no longer weaker than the Protector clans. Although their heritage still could not be compared to the Protector clans, their strength on the surface was enough at the very least. The strength of the Flame Mercenaries made all the members of the Flame Mercenaries very excited and emotional. The people who had just increased their strength entered seclusion once again. Their strength had increased far too quickly in the past few days, so they needed to use it proficiently. Otherwise, they would not be able to display their battle prowess, even though they possessed great strength. Several days later, a loud sound accompanied by the wail of a bird rang out from the distant sky. Outside the golden barrier of Flame City, a bird that was 5 meters long had collided with the barrier. With a miserable wail, it directly fell out of the sky. On the back of the bird, the 4 people who were originally sitting cross-legged on the bird also hit the golden barrier one after another due to inertia. All of them saw stars and fell from the sky dizzily. However, 2 of them were Heaven Saint Masters and could fly, so they regained control of their bodies very soon. They all rose into the air, borrowing the help of 2 Earth Saint Masters each. In the end, the 4 of them safely landed on the ground. They all rubbed their heads as they stared at the golden barrier that enveloped Raging Flame City in bewilderment. Beside them, the 5-meter-long bird flapped its wings and struggled to stand up from the ground. Its head was already bleeding, and it couldn't even straighten its neck. Where did this barrier come from? Why isn't it letting us in? Could it be that we've been chased out of the Flame Mercenary group after leaving for so long? Among the 4 people, a young man who looked to be in his 20s or 30s looked at the barrier with an innocent expression and complained in dissatisfaction. The Raging Flame Mercenaries are becoming more and more formal now. There's a powerful barrier around them that prevents outsiders from flying in from the sky. The only way to enter the city is through the city gates. The one who spoke was a middle-aged man with a calm expression. He was sizing up the city in front of him without blinking. At this moment, a group of armored guards rode out of the city on magical beasts. They charged at the 4 people who had crashed into the barrier and surrounded them. Who are you? Don't you know that flying is forbidden in Flame City? State your identities and intentions, the middle-aged man coldly said. He was a Heaven Saint Master. He wore armor forged from tungsten alloy, making him seem extraordinarily mighty. Now that the Flame Mercenaries had become powerful, even the guard were proud of it. They had become much more spirited. Who's in charge of the Flame Mercenaries right now? Is it Jianshun or Balian? Why don't you go report to them? Just say that the 4 of us have returned, the youngest of the group said impatiently. He did not take the tungsten alloy armored Heaven Saint Master's words seriously at all. The Heaven Saint Master's face sank when he heard that. His gaze immediately sharpened. Their captain Jianshun was the legendary Holy Emperor of the Tian Yuan continent. His status was so great that even the great Holy Emperor would treat him politely when he saw Jianshun. However, the 4 people were only Heaven Saint Masters and Earth Saint Masters. Yet they actually dared to call Jianshan by his name. This was an unforgivable crime. Just when the Heaven Saint Master wanted to give the order to capture the four people, his eyes suddenly narrowed. He stared at the young man who had called Jianshan by his name, and his face suddenly changed. He quickly glanced over the other three people and immediately became surprised. He asked, "Are you the Xiao Qianyu, Wang Yifeng, Yun Zheng, and senior in that Captain Jianshan has been looking for? I didn't think that there would still be people who would remember us after leaving for so long." "That's right. I'm Xiao Qianyu. By the way, who was the one who set up the barrier around Raging Flame City? Why didn't they say anything? My head hurts from crashing into it." The youngest person grumbled. He was precisely Houston's grandson, Little Fatty. After all these years of experience, Xiao Qianyu had long since transformed from that Little Fatty into an extraordinarily handsome youth. His face was filled with the marks of hardships left behind by the storms of carnage. Within his resoluteness was also a bit of callousness. The Heaven Saint Master hurriedly dismounted from his magical beast and bowed to them politely. "I am Zhua Fan. I did not know it was the four of you, so please forgive me if I have offended you. I have no idea what the Golden Barrier is either. All I know is that it appeared out of nowhere not long ago. Whatever, I'll go into the city and find Jianshan. I've been hearing rumors lately that Jianshan has become the Holy Emperor and defeated 2 ninth-class magical beasts on the Beast God continent in a single move. I know the rumors are mostly exaggerated, but it's still a skill that the entire Tian Yuan continent knows about," Xiao Tianyu said nonchalantly. Xiao Tianyu said indifferently. Then he called Wang Yifeng, Yun Zheng, and senior to walk into the city. "You finally returned. Finding you sure wasn't easy." At this moment, a clear laugh rang out. Jianshan stood at the entrance of the city in white robes with his 2 swords on his back as he looked at Xiao Tianyu and the others. "Jianshan!" Xiao Tianyu cried out. He immediately rushed over and hugged Jianshan as he laughed heartily. They had been separated for many years, so they were obviously overjoyed to see each other again. "Little Fatty, Wang Yifeng, Yun Zheng, senior, and let's go into the city first. I've already personally arranged for a banquet to welcome you back." Jianshan smiled as he called them into the city lord's estate. Behind them, the guard who was a Heaven Saint Master looked at them enviously. They were only Heaven Saint Masters or Earth Saint Masters, yet the great Commander Jianshan had personally come out to receive them. Probably even the Holy Emperor did not receive such treatment. During the banquet, Jianshan, Little Fatty, and Little Fatty raised their cups and drank to their heart's content. They chatted with each other happily. Little Fatty, and Little Fatty, 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 and Little Fatty. The next morning, Jianshan brought the 4 of them back to the mountain range where the tungsten alloy mine was. At the same time, he let out the several dozen elites from the artifact space. He planned on increasing their strength in a single stroke. Chapter 1382. The mountain range trembled violently. Thick cracks began to spread across the entire mountain range like a spider web. Mountain peaks began to collapse one after another. Rocks rolled down, producing muffled rumbling sounds. The tremors were extremely widespread. The entire continent was affected. Even from several million kilometers away, the tremors could be clearly felt. With a flash, Jianshan arrived on the tallest mountain. He stood there with his swords on his back as he stared into the distance. To no surprise, he was looking in the direction of Mercenary City. Although he was too far away from Mercenary City and couldn't see anything with his naked eye, he could clearly sense just how powerful the energy ripples coming from the direction of Mercenary City were. Jianshan became stern, but his eyes shone brighter than before. They were like unsheathed swords, shining brightly. Not only were they extremely sharp, but they were also filled with a powerful battle intent. "Jianshan, what's going on?" Xiao Tianyu, Wang Yifeng, and the others arrived beside Jianshan. They all stared into the distance and asked out of curiosity. The pulses of energy were so powerful that even Xiao Tianyu and Wang Yifeng, who were only Heaven Saint Masters, could clearly sense them. Jianshun sucked in a deep breath and said with a deep voice, "Little fatty, gather everyone here. We're returning to Flame City immediately." "All right," Xiao Tianyu firmly agreed. He did not ask for the reason and immediately gathered several dozen people. Jianshan could not help but give up on the idea of increasing their strength today. He returned to Flame City with Little Fatty, Wang Yifeng, Yin Zheng, Senior In, and the several dozen elite squads that had emerged from the artifact space. He immediately ordered the city to be sealed off so that no one could enter or leave. Afterward, he left Little Fatty and the others behind and left through a space gate in the city with Xiao Jin. Soon after Jinshin's departure, Yu by Lian, Huang Wan by Hai, and the others all emerged from seclusion. They all stood before the city lord's estate and stared into the distance. "What's going on? Why did brother leave in such a hurry?" He even took Xiao Jin with him, Bai Lian asked uneasily. She had already guessed something. Bai Hai, Ming Dong, and Dugu Feng were stern. Bai Hai said with a heavy voice, "If I've guessed correctly, the people from the world of Forsaken Saints have arrived. The calamity of the Tian Yuan continent has begun. Since the calamity is about to arrive, what are we still standing here for? Let's go help out in Mercenary City." Men immediately opened the space gate leading to Mercenary City, Ming Dong called out. He was in high spirits. However, they soon received a report from the guards that the spatial door could no longer be opened. "Since I can't open a space door, I'll use the Holy Emperor's ability to rip open a space door myself." Ming Dong smiled confidently. He immediately began to rip open space. But soon, the smile on his face stiffened because he realized that even with his Holy Emperor 8 celestial layer strength, he was unable to tear space and build a spatial door. "What's going on?" Ming Dong's face twitched a few times in an abnormal manner. Bai Hai raised his head to look at the golden barrier in the sky. He sighed emotionally. "Xiao Jin's barrier is becoming more and more perfect. Looks like my good grandson has taught Xiao Jin quite a few things in the past 2 days. Unless you're stronger than the person who cast down the barrier, you won't be able to rip open space here. Then I'll fly out. Now that my strength has skyrocketed, it won't take me long to fly to Mercenary City," Ming Dong said proudly. He immediately shot into the sky, but he ended up smashing into the barrier. He basically stuck to the barrier with his arms and legs spread out. He fell down in an extremely horrible shape. "This barrier can actually stop us from leaving, and we can't even use a space door. What's Jianshin trying to do? He's actually locked us up." Ming Dong stood beside Bai Hai in a dejected manner as he grumbled. "I heard that there are many experts in the world of Forsaken Saints. There are several times more holy emperors than there are holy emperors on our Tian Yuan continent. It's very likely that a holy emperor is involved in the attack this time. Jianshun wants to protect us. He doesn't want us to die in this battle, which is why he got Xiao Jin to trap us here. He doesn't want us to take part in this battle," Yu said gently. Her eyes were filled with worry. "We're still not strong enough. Continue cultivating," Dugu Feng said emotionlessly. Dugu Feng said expressionlessly with a cold face. He then returned to the secret room to continue his seclusion. A 1,000-meter-wide pit had already appeared in the ruins of Mercenary City. It was pitch black and bottomless, but an extremely terrifying pulse of energy surged out. It shot into the sky, dispersing the clouds and causing the space there to violently distort. The experts of the 4 races gathered there all sternly stood in the distance. The Path Lord of Carnal Desires and the 3 holy emperors of the magical beasts had all appeared. All of them stood there sternly, ready for battle. "Oh no, they're coming. They're all holy emperors. There are so many holy emperors." Xiaoling's voice rang out in the air. The elusive Xiaoling also appeared at this moment. Her childish face was filled with fear as she stared at the bottom of the pit uneasily. The experts of the 4 races all revealed extremely ugly expressions when they heard that they were all holy emperors, causing the atmosphere to become extremely heavy. At this moment, a space gate ripped open several dozen kilometers away. Jianshin appeared with a child who only seemed to be 3 or 4 years old. He quickly arrived there. His appearance caused the eyes of Lankiros and Kaiser from the beast god continent to narrow. Their eyes were filled with fear. Even the Path Lord's gaze towards Jianshan was filled with fear. However, most of the time, their gazes were focused on the two swords on Jianshan's back. The three of them were not the only ones who noticed the two swords on Jianshan's back. At that moment, everyone present instinctively shifted their gazes away from the pit and onto the two swords on Jianshan's back. Although many of them had not personally witnessed the power of the two swords, they all knew that Jianshan had used the two swords to defeat the two holy emperors in a single strike. Big brother, you're finally here. All the baddies from the world of Forsaken Saints have come. They brought so many holy emperors, at least several hundred of them. What should we do? Xiaoling arrived beside Jianshan and hugged Jianshan's arm as she sobbed. What? Several hundred holy emperors? Xiaoling's words were like a bolt from the blue in the heads of the holy emperors. All of them paled. They had thought that there would only be around a dozen holy emperors, or even a few dozen. They had never thought that there would be several hundred of them. Jianshan gently rubbed Xiaoling's head and said, Xiaoling, don't be afraid. Don't you have Big Brother here? I'll fight with you and kill the enemies together. When the enemies appear, all you need to do is use the ability your master gave you to beat them up viciously. Do you understand? Chapter 1383. Great-grandson, come to our side. An old and amiable voice rang out. Chanyang Zushao smiled at Jianshan. His gaze toward Jianshan was filled with gratification and pride. Chanyang Zuyunkong and Chanyang Zuyin looked at Jianshan with mixed feelings. They had never thought that Jianshan would grow to such an astonishing level in such a short amount of time. Whether it was the Tian Yuan continent or the Holy Emperor of the Beast God continent, they all feared him. Jianshan arrived beside Chanyang Zushao with Xiao Jin in one hand and Xiaoling by his side. He bowed to them as a junior and said, Jianshan greets my great-grandfathers and great-grandmother. Both Chanyang Zushao and Chanyang Zushao were much more senior than Jianshan. Even the Chanyang ancestor had founded the Chanyang prefecture in Lore City. As a result, all of them were Jianshan's great-grandfathers and great-grandmother. Chanyang Zushao and Chanyang Zuyinshao smiled from ear to ear. Even on the eve of a battle to the death, they were unable to conceal their pride. To one side, the eyes of the Holy Emperor's experts all reddened with envy when they saw Jianshan bow to the three of them. After all, Jianshan was a true Holy Emperor in their eyes now. It was unprecedented for a Holy Emperor to receive a bow from a Holy Emperor. In particular, when they discovered that even Xiaoling, who had surpassed the Holy Emperor, was so reliant on Jianshan, many of them immediately became jealous. Fortunately, none of them knew Xiao Jin's true identity. None of them could tell Xiao Jin's strength, or who knows what they would think if they knew that two Origin Realm experts were so reliant on Jianshan. The veiled heavenly enchantress stared at Jianshan from afar. Her enchanting eyes would glance at Xiao Jin from time to time. She secretly gritted her teeth as her gaze became extremely mixed. Even her grip on the zither of the demonic cry tightened slightly. Great-grandson, leave the child in the divine hall. There are many saint emperors among the invading experts from the world of Forsaken Saints this time. We won't be able to take care of him when we start fighting. Chanyang Zushao looked at Xiao Jin before taking out a divine hall in an attempt to take him in. He had guessed that Xiao Jin might be Jianshan's child. Although he had no idea why Jianshan had brought his child here, it was not his place to ask about Jianshan's extraordinary status. Jianshan had no idea what to say when he saw Chanyang Zuzhao's actions. Just when he wanted to say something, a violent rumble suddenly rang out from the pit. It was accompanied by an extremely violent stream of space that shot into the sky. After the stream of space, tremendous presences radiated from the bottom of the pit and shot into the sky. A group of holy emperors from the world of Forsaken Saints shot into the sky. Their terrifying presences swept through the surroundings, causing space to collapse and the world to overturn. Just their presences forced countless holy emperors to rapidly retreat. Activate the formations. The Grand Elder of Mercenary City called out. His voice shook the sky reverberating through a radius of 10,000 kilometers. Countless formations appeared. Not only did they cover the ground, but there were even many hidden in the air. These formations were all cast down by the greatest formation masters of the Tian Yuan continent through blood, sweat, and tears. There were also the most powerful trapping formations and killing formations from various ancient clans. As soon as the formation appeared, the surroundings were dyed in various colors. Layers upon layers of formations flickered with different lights as they appeared in the air. Terrifying pulses of energy ripped through the space there with ease, causing the surroundings to become shrouded in eternal darkness. A few holy emperors from the world of Forsaken Saints at the very front were trapped by the formations. The formations were all linked together, stacking their power. Even though they had only been cast down by holy emperors, they were still able to trap a few holy emperors or even heavily injure them. 500 holy emperors from the world of Forsaken Saints had come this time. Only a few dozen holy emperors had been trapped by the formations. A portion of the holy emperors from the world of Forsaken Saints who had charged out of the pit immediately took action decisively when they saw that their people had been trapped by the formations. They attacked the formations from the outside and assisted the people inside in breaking through. The other holy emperors charged off in all directions, engaging in a great battle against the humans, magical beasts, 100 races, and sea race. Use the emperor armament. A great elder of a protector clan called out. He immediately used his master's power to control the emperor armament, engaging in a great battle against the holy emperors from the world of Forsaken Saints. The other protector clans all used their ancestral armaments to kill their enemies when they saw this. Originally, they had placed their emperor armaments there so that the great elder Tian Jian could cast down a supreme, killing formation to block the exit of the world of Forsaken Saints. However, the great elder had yet to appear after refining the supreme divine hall of Mercenary City, so they could only give up on the idea of using the emperor armament. The grand elder of Mercenary City secretly sighed. He led all the experts of Mercenary City to participate in the battle as well. The invasion from the world of Forsaken Saints had happened far too quickly. Their Tian Yuan continent was still unprepared. The great elder Tian Jian had yet to refine the supreme divine hall. Houston, who had just become a saint emperor, was nowhere to be found, and the reinforcements from the sea realm had yet to gather. Not a single one of the 3 holy emperors of the sea race had appeared. Other than Changyang Prefecture and the Tyrant's Blade School, the other 8 protector clans all used their emperor armaments to fight against the holy emperors of the world of Forsaken Saints. Since the emperor armaments of Changyang Prefecture and the Tyrant's Blade School had been taken away, the experts of the 2 protector clans could only use powerful secret techniques to fight against the holy emperors. A huge shield hung in the sky on the side of the 100 races. It was several 100 meters wide, blocking an entire region like a heavenly shield. It withstood the attacks of over a dozen holy emperors from the world of Forsaken Saints. This was the treasure of the dwarves that had been passed down since ancient times, the Heaven's Guard. It had been forged by the most powerful dwarf king in the history of the dwarves through painstaking efforts. It was extremely tough and had been honored in the battle of ancient times. However, the shield had become dented in a short amount of time as it withstood the attacks of the holy emperors from the world of Forsaken Saints. Cracks rapidly spread across its surface. Behind the Heaven's Shield, the dwarf king controlling the Heaven's Shield coughed up a large mouthful of blood. It wasn't just blood that filled the air, but also a large amount of crushed organs. The dwarf king only had the strength of a holy emperor at great perfection. The attacks that the shield had withstood were just too fierce, so a portion of the attacks were redirected to the dwarf king. Even though it had been greatly weakened, it was still enough to heavily injure him. He could not last much longer. It's a pity that I'm not a holy emperor. If I had the strength of a holy emperor, I wouldn't have ended up in such a horrible state after blocking over a dozen holy emperors with the shield, the dwarf king sighed inside. He felt despair as he looked at the several hundred holy emperors from the world of Forsaken Saints in the sky. A huge divine tree grew among the 100 races. It shone with a resplendent green light and was brimming with life. This was the elven god tree of the elves. It had also been passed down since ancient times and had endured countless years. The elven god tree was over 3,000 meters tall. Coupled with its thick trunk, it looked like a pillar that held up the heavens. Endless green light radiated from the god tree, enveloping the entire battlefield. Anyone who was injured was bathed in the green light that was brimming with vitality. Their injuries were quickly healed.